Hey everybody, my name is Mark, and this is my first time running a game on the Gauntlet, or facilitating a game, and we'll be playing a game of my own design, Icebox Timeline, today. I think I'd like to start off just by having everyone introduce themselves, and we'll go from there. So let's go from uh, my left to right. Let's go with Erez first.
Hi, I'm Eris. Not much to say really. Sometimes I play Gauntlet games when I can get myself into one once a year. Um, I don't really have much of an internet existence. I have Twitter and stuff, but I don't really share anything. So
Cool. I'm glad to have you here. Pat, after that drink of water.
Gotta hydrate before I get into my 10-minute spiel here. Not just kidding. Hey everybody, my name's Patrick, or Pat, whatever you want to call me. Most people call me Pat for brevity reasons. Been a member of the Gauntlet for quite a while. Played quite a few games with Jim. It's been a while since I've seen you, Jim. It's good to see you. Yeah, online, Twitter, I have a blog. I'm known as Fictive Fun online. That's kind of like my thing. I don't really do too much as far as like, streaming or recording games. I haven't played games, in quite a while. So kind of creeping back into it. But yeah, it's really good to get a game with all y'all and excited to try out this game.
Yeah, excited to play with you. I think I've seen you on our Friday night stream with the between and all that stuff. So good to play with you finally. Awesome, Sebastian.
Yeah, hi there. Hi everybody, Sebastian. Long time dormant tabletop role-playing gamer. Like I had a hot phase, I don't know, age 12 until age, I don't know, whenever university ended, and then life kicked in. And COVID for me was sort of a rekindling where suddenly, I don't know, there was loads of time I need to reconnect with people. And I ran my own little campaign of Lady Blackbird, and then stumbled on during Festival, which was all online in Denmark last year in April from over somebody at the Gauntlet. And this is now my third Gauntlet game, and so far enjoying it very much as a community.
Oh, glad to have you. And Jim.
Hey everybody, I'm Jim Crocker. I generally go by he, him pronouns, but if you're using them more generically, that's totally fine with me too. I run and play a whole lot of games on the Gauntlet, a little less so kind of in the new year with family stuff and some medical stuff at home that's going on. So the opportunity, Mark, to jump into your one shot here was very welcome, because like right now, like my ability to commit to ongoing games is a little limited, but being able to just jump in and try some stuff out is pretty great. So I've been a gamer since the 70s, that kind of classic D&D stuff we're talking about. Long time interest in the kind of indie tabletop stuff that the Gauntlet is doing. Owned a game store for 15, 16 years, something like that. And I do a lot of work at conventions. I sell games at cons with my friends at Indie Press Revolution, and just so I'm kind of sort of in and out of the industry for just, many, many years all around. So you can find me on Twitter at Jim Likes Games, just like it sounds. I was thrilled that hashtag was available. So, and I've got a whole lot of, I'm on YouTube as Jim Likes Games. I've got a whole bunch of actual plays of exactly this sort up there, all kinds of indie games, a lot of it Gauntlet stuff, some of it other stuff. And I have a little podcast called Just Played, where I do like 15-20 minute recaps of games that I'd played. And Mark, with your permission, and assuming this all doesn't just blow up in our faces, it's certainly something I'd like to talk about on that show, because I love talking about new games and my experience with playtests and stuff like that. So really looking forward to this. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely, cool. Yeah, and I'm Mark. I go by he or them pronouns. I've been a member of the Gauntlet for a couple years, played a bunch, first time running. I've been a gamer since the early 80s, and again, like y'all said, taking hiatuses here and there when life comes into it. And I've been designing games for a very long time. And this one's been on the blocks for 5 or 6 years, and it's solid. We played it a bunch. This is my first time running it online, so I'm curious to see how that's going to work. And yeah, let's crack into it. Let's see. Gauntlet stuff. Safety tools. We will be using safety tools as everyone should. We'll be using first off open door policy. Of course, you are always more important than the game. If you ever need to take a break or step away, just let us know. You don't need to let us know why. If you leave permanently, shoot me a message if you can. Otherwise, we will continue playing without you after appropriate amount of time. We'll be using X card, or I like script change a little bit better. So if there is content that you do not like that just happened, you can either X card it out by showing an X or saying X card or typing an X in chat, or you can just say stop. That's totally fine too. If you would like to slow down, if some content that may not be great for you is coming up, just say, pause, and we'll take it step by step. If there's something that happened that you really didn't like that you didn't get to stop, you can rewind past it and we'll do it over. Or again, if there's something coming up that you don't want to see, we can fast forward through that, and that'll be good. And I also like to use lines and veils. This doesn't have a character keeper. So if you would like to privately send me stuff in chat or just put it in chat, we'll recap it. And lines are, yes, lines are is content that does not exist in this world at all. So if you don't like to see harm to animals, animals don't get harmed in this world at all, period. Veils are things that do exist, but we don't see on screen. So like if you have a veil on torture, we may acknowledge that someone gets tortured, but we will never see it on screen. And I like to have, when I have a keeper, have an ask first column. So subjects that might be sensitive to you, but you're generally okay with, we can check in with you first. And also, I also like to have an interested in column. So if there is something that you're super interested in having, send that along, and we'll see if we can hit that in. So let's just take a minute and throw that in chat, and I will say them out loud once we've got. If you don't have any that you want to put, just send me an okay or a thumbs up. Let me know that you're good to go. Everyone got stuff in? Cool. So it looks like we have lines on, excellent, thank you. Lines on sexual violence, line on PCs harming children, lines on homophobia, transphobia, racism, and lines on pregnancy complications. Great. And we have veils on consensual sex, animal suffering, torture, and gratuitous description of gore. Great. This is not a horror game, but things might come up. So I'm going to keep that open in chat window over here so I can see it. And again, if everyone's human, so if someone does bump up against one of those, feel free to X card or stop, and we will roll stuff back for you. Great. I think that is it for the preliminaries. So let me talk a little bit about the game, unless anyone has any questions up front about that. Awesome. Cool. I don't have a formal CATS laid out for this one, concept, aim, tone, and subject matter. So let me just read the introduction, and I'll talk a little bit about what the game plays like. So Icebox Timeline is a tabletop role-playing game about the passengers and crew on a lost starship as they drift in and out of cryosleep across the years or millennia. As players, you're going to be setting up scenes for your characters and playing them out with each other just to see what happens. You're going to do that by drawing hands of playing cards and using them to determine where on the timeline those scenes happen. And we're going to jump around in time like that. This is a GM-less game, so I won't actually be playing myself. It's a game for exactly 4 players, which we have. So I'll be facilitating and helping you along with the rules, but the game is entirely yours. The game probably run about 3-ish hours, maybe less, rarely more, depending on how it goes. Cards are cards, so whatever happens, happens. Yeah, I'll be your host. Normally the person who is reading the rules is the host, but that's me. So I've got a card table set up, which I will post in chat here. Cool, so you should just be able to hit that and then just enter that.
Is this different, going to take us a different place than the link that you sent out before?
Yeah, that was just a scratch one. This one is
Got it.
the
Okay.
real one.
Okay, that I've got that open now, so I will close that first.
Cool. And yeah, to avoid shuffling around. Oh, you already picked players. Great, we figured it out already. Sometimes there's a little polite dance.
I have no
so just put
idea.
your.
I pick players.
Cool. So go ahead and put your name where it says player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4, so we know who's got who. And the big thing that's going to be different for us here in person, we sit around a table, and there are player roles and scenes depending on who's on your left, who's on your right, and who's sitting across from you. Clearly, we don't have that here. So imagine that players 1, 2, 3, 4 are sitting around a table. So 1 is going to be across from 3, 2 is going to be across from 4, and so on. Great, so we've got Jim player 1, Pat player 2, Erez 3, and Sebastian 4. Perfect. Cool. So let's start off by making characters. Oh, and if you are looking at the document that I sent out, that is one version back, so there might be some terminology or language that's not up to date with the current one. The primary thing is in the old version there was an investigator that was only confusing. So anytime you see reference to an investigator, ignore it. I'll answer any questions as we go along. Cool. So actually, let me read the fancy introduction here so we get the tone. I think I said the T in cats, right? On December 9th, 2470, the Interstellar Population Transport and Terraform vessel ISPT-8, designation Sequoia, departed from Lunar Dock Alpha. Like others of its kind, the starship carried some 8,000 passengers towards their new home among the stars. Its destination, Earth-class planet PM619, also known as Medicity, the most distant world to date to host a new colony of immigrants from Earth. To survive the expected 5 centuries of space travel, the crew and other inhabitants of the Sequoia operated on a staggered schedule of cryosleep. This regimen of suspended animation prolonged their lives, staving off the boredom and inevitable madness, that language is going to be changed, induced by such a long journey. Approximately 60 years into the 500-year voyage, something went wrong. The Sequoia deviated from its projected course, sending the ship on a trajectory to nowhere, rendering it unable to chart a new destination amongst the unfamiliar stars. The vessel and its crew drifted for over 12,000 years, its ultimate fate unknown. Now, in the distant future, we seek to determine what exactly happened aboard the Sequoia, analyzing the ship's logs and surveillance recordings. We have full access to the Sequoia's recovered Icebox records, like a black box, with authorization to use the ship's AI controller and interface, URSA, to aid in searching and correlating their contents. URSA's responses to our questions may take the form of a nonlinear sequence of command logs and formally recorded conversations. Those will be our scenes. The series of scenes she produces for our question will not reveal the entire story of the Sequoia's journey. Over time, however, we edge closer and closer to understanding the full truth behind the ship's disappearance. So upshot is something happened. We're probably never going to see the thing that happened that caused the ship to go off course, but we will see day-to-day life on the ship around that before and after. Again, this is kind of anti-canon still, so a lot of things are written down, but there's no set history or lore, so anything that we make up is the right thing. So don't worry about getting anything right ever. Whatever it is what we say. Cool. So let's jump in to starting the central question off. And the way we do that is we'll start with Erez, and we're just going to create this question one word at a time. So I'll go, actually, let's start with Jim because you're player one. So we'll go Jim, Pat, Erez, Sebastian, and we'll go around until we have a question, building it one word at a time. So Jim might want to start off with a question word like what, who, where, and we'll just go off of that until we get to a complete sentence. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, I'll start with the word why.
Cool. Pat.
Didn't.
There is.
Will the captain be one word or there?
We could say the captain. Yeah, sure. Why didn't the captain, Sebastian? Oh, sorry.
Yep. Inform.
Cool. Why didn't the captain inform, Jim?
Us.
After.
They.
Okay. Flew by.
Flew by.
The.
Cool. Big last word, David. Pat.
Black hole.
Black hole, great. Cool. So our simple question is, why didn't the captain inform us after they flew by the black hole? Amazing. I love that.
Yes, we know the answer.
That's there's a whole science fiction movie right there. Yeah.
Cool. So that is the question that the game will center around. If scenes drift away from that, great. This is great for inspiration. If you are, it's your turn to set a scene and you don't have any ideas, either go off of previous scenes or you can be inspired by that. Fantastic. I love it. Cool. So now we will create characters. And it looks like you this setup is interesting. So I've already associated suits with the players, so I'll tell you what these mean, and if you want to change, I'll move around the suit markers next to you. So everyone's going to have a character of one type. Whoever picks clubs is going to be a member of the ship's technical or engineering crew. Whoever picks hearts is going to be just a regular ordinary citizen on the ship. If you are playing a spade, you are a security crew or the police force or military of the ship. And if you're a diamond, then you'll represent a command crew or a ship's officer. So right now we have Jim as technical, Pat as a citizen, Erez as ship's officer, and Erez as security crew, and Sebastian as a ship's officer. Is everyone okay with that, or would you like to trade around? Cool.
I'm good unless somebody really wants to, be Scotty.
Sweet. Cool. So you will then pick a role for your character. So I don't think y'all can edit these. So I will edit them for you. That's the one drawback of the playing cards IO is that there's, or maybe you can hit the. I wonder if more than one person can hit the edit table button at once and edit your own things. Maybe let's give that a try and see how it works. So go ahead and hit the edit table button, and you should be able to select the thing that says position underneath your character, and just make up who you are on the ship. So some examples from the book are environmental technician, blue shift, first officer, hydroponics expert, Toronto deck chess club president, citizen surveillance android, and so on. And if you can't edit those, let me know and I will make it happen.
Where is it again?
If you hit the little toolbox icon in the left, it's the second from the top on the green bar. You should be able to edit the position text box underneath your player.
Oh, this. Okay.
Yeah.
The character name and pronouns and position.
Yeah. So I want to edit your position now. Perfect.
So can you all see that edit that I made? I made myself master plumber. That's
yeah,
my
we got
role.
Jim is
Cool.
the master
All right.
plumber.
Okay.
Pat is medical doctor. Sebastian is first officer, landing crew Charlie. Love it. And Erez is suspense.
I don't know. What was it again? Police force. What it's called? Ooh.
Awesome. Security guard. Perfect. Cool. Yeah. So that means on this ship we have a definite need of plumbers, doctors. A security guard is great. I've played so many times where people are like, security android X4 alpha. You're like, okay, that's but like security guard, great, I love that. And first
Just
officer landing crew Charlie, just a guard, just a guy. That's great. So underneath your at the bottom underneath of your what do I say, at the bottom of the screen underneath where you are, there are 3 cards, the face cards for your suit. You will pick one of the cards to denote the gender of your character. So queens will be female or feminine characters, kings will be male or masculine characters, and jacks will be non-binary, agender. And also if you want to play an android or AI or something, you can also play a jack for that. Still working on the exact language for that. So pick the card you'd like for your gender and put it in the discard pile. You can just drag it up to the discard pile on top, and then choose a name for yourself and let us know what your pronouns are in that slot. And again, you should be able to edit that all. So, ooh. So it's like the medical doctor is Dr. Enoya Policarpo, she, her. Security guard is Bobby. Awesome, he, him. Our master plumber is Bartholomew, he, him.
Everyone knows Bobby.
Yeah, I'm gonna play an uplifted chimpanzee.
Amazing.
Because I'm strong enough to like whip a wrench around when you really need it.
I love it.
And I can get into smaller spaces than the people on the ship can.
Fantastic. And Shy Banks, she, her, is our first officer at Landing Crew Charlie. Great. So down at the bottom of that playing cards IO, there's that big white space. That is your hand. So you can take the other two face cards from your suit and take them into your hand. And those will be only visible to you. Great. And yeah, normally if we had more space and or index cards, I'd have people write descriptions down, but let's just go around 1, 2, 3, 4, and have you just describe in a sentence what your character looks like, and we'll go from there. So Jim, what does Bartholomew look like?
I mean, Bartholomew looks like a chimpanzee with like his left ear has a bunch of like studs and earrings in it and stuff like this.
Nice.
He gets, he uses them to mark anniversaries and stuff like this.
Awesome.
Because he's so covered in hair, he can't like really have tattoos. So he does piercings instead to kind of indicate that. And he wears like basically overalls, essentially, like something that basically look like, like Oshkoshes or something like that.
Nice.
Most of the time barefoot. Sometimes if I have to, I'll put on like polymer galoshes on my feet if I have to wade through something particularly obnoxious.
Mhm.
And most of the time he's got some kind of earbud in where he's listening to music of some kind or another, kind of bopping his head along. He spends a lot of his time alone, I think, like in the guts of the ship and fixing stuff and things like that. So he's gotten used to, making his own fun. But I think he can, I don't want to make it difficult. So he can speak clearly. He has no problem communicating. He doesn't have to talk in sign language or anything like that. Maybe his voice is a little screechy or something like that. But for the most part,
Maybe has
communicating
a
with him.
computer voice box or something. Yeah.
No,
Awesome.
I think he just talks regularly, but it's,
Awesome.
it was hard to learn, but yeah.
Yeah, cool. Badass. I love it. Pat, tell us what Dr. Enoya Polycarpo looks like. What they like.
Yeah, Dr. Enoya Polycarpio is a career space medic, I guess you could say. Didn't have too much ground time once she became a doctor. She's very much a student of the old school type medicine. Feels very much about empathy with patients. There's so much automation going on with the medical bots and all that. Of course, a medical bot can diagnose you with a disease that you probably do have. It searches your DNA and it injects meds into you, and you're perfectly fine. But you don't get no empathy from a machine that's giving you meds. So she definitely falls into a camp of kind of a dying group of medical practitioners. Being a career spacer, she's probably a lot taller than any like earthbound folks, mainly from the lower gravity. So she's probably a lot taller than anybody that was actually spent their time on Earth. And always seen in a lab coat, always has a data pad. People don't think that she's ever off, because it always looks like she's working. And
Awesome.
That's just the general description.
Cool. I love it. Let's hear about Bobby, the security guard.
Bobby's the most average looking person you could possibly. It just seems like a nice guy who wears his uniform most of the time, walks around, says hi to everyone. Hopefully everyone likes him. He likes everyone, always smiles, always kind. He's just there to keep the peace, and there's no reason there won't be peace on a spaceship in the middle of nowhere. So
yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
And Glenda Banks, our first officer, just landing crew. Charlie, what is she like?
Yeah, no, Glenda had a sudden change of heart and first name. So Glenda is basically in appearance maybe 1 meter 80 centimeters high, quite burly, quite the walking shelf, with hair tightly tied back, And in terms of her demeanor, she is basically the matron running and organizing everything at high energy. Like, she's kind and friendly to everybody, but she's also really a stickler for rules and a stickler for everything really running according to plan, and has a weird eye for things that are going on somewhere deep in a room as well, when if something's not up to snuff or if something's not cleaned, which for some people can be a bit intense to be around her. But yeah, principally a good soul.
Cool. Sounds great. I love these characters already. Cool. So the last thing we need to do to set up, you have your 2 face cards in your hand. Go ahead and draw 5 more cards from the deck and put them in your hand. And so you'll have a total of 7 cards. And those are the cards we'll be using to start and sometimes finish scenes.
What does the draw button do? Will it draw 5 cards?
Oh, yes, I think that actually is the draw button I set up to automatically do that. Let's see if it works.
I clicked it and nothing seemed to have happened.
All right, then I guess no good. Still working out the automation on this thing. Cool, everyone good to go? Your hands are private but not secret, so don't worry about saying or not what you have in your hand, but yeah, it's for you to use. So cool. Let's start our first scene. So there's 2 different kinds of scenes. Most of them will be crew scenes. If you have a numbered card in your hand, which almost everyone probably will, pick one of those numbered cards and put it in the appropriate slot on the timeline here. So the timeline's numbered from ace to 10, left to right. Basically, this is going to be the bounds of our story, and you can pick wherever you want. So if you want to start from the day the ship launched, you can put, and you have an ace, you can put your card there and say, this is the day the ship launched. If you want to start 1,000 years after the deviation, after something went wrong, you can put your ace on the first saying, this is 1,000 years after deviation. Likewise with the end, it can be anywhere from the day after launch to 12,000 years in the future. So most of the time you'll probably be starting off somewhere in the middle, both in the timeline, in whatever card you put down, but it's totally up to you, and whatever you pick, we'll run with it. So Sebastian, do you have a numbered card that you would like to start a scene somewhere with?
And should that card be of my suit if I have it of my suit, or does it not matter?
The suits shouldn't matter now. Yeah, so any suit should be fine.
Okay. And I can put it on any slot, or basically if I have a 2, then I should put it on the slot date 2.
Yeah, the second one. It'll match the position.
Okay.
So is that 5 blocked out? Is that what's going on there?
Is the what?
The 5. I'm seeing a 5 of diamonds on the date 5. I
I
wonder if that was, nope. You know what? I think that was a card that I took and shouldn't have. So
that's fine.
There we go. I'm just going to drop that into the discard pile there.
Actually, throw it in the deck, and you can actually click the 19 there, flip it over, and that lets you shuffle the deck. So that should be fine to throw in there.
Okay. There we go. Shuffle stack. Shuffle.
Fantastic. Cool.
Excellent.
Great. So Sebastian, Glenda has picked a 2 for her scene. Now,
Actually,
if any, go ahead.
Apologies for that. I'll take the 6.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We start in the middle.
Cool. Now, so Sebastian's going to be, or Glenda's going to be the active player for the scene. So the scene will revolve around her in some way. Does anyone else have a 6 in their hand? Nope. Okay, cool. If someone does have a matching number when someone starts a crew scene, you'll also put your card there, and your character will be in the scene one way or another. If someone wants to join the scene after the scene starts, totally cool. But you are required to if you have a matching card. Great. So Sebastian will be starting first scene. Do you have an idea of when, date-wise, you would like that to take place?
So we're talking here about a 10 or 12,000 year stretch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be about 500 years, but about 60 years into the trip, something happened to send it off course. So anywhere in that whole timeline.
Okay. So I would say this is about 9,000 years in.
Nice.
And the ship's gotten pretty battered as a result of that. So we're already at a point where, right, this is right. The ship was built for 500 years. It was not built for 9,000 years of space flight, and so serious rationing has had to happen, and loads of haphazard repairs that aren't really holding back, and so therefore people have also to get out of their cycling at a rate that we don't really want.
Nice.
So yeah, so we're in a state where as I said, the old's not golden anymore, and there is a certain level of, it would be good if we find somewhere actually. Yeah. So yeah.
Cool. Do you have an idea of where on the ship you'd like the scene to happen?
So I think this is obviously for me, this is the landing pods. This is, for some reason, I've been woken out of my cryo sleep, and basically by the central computer been woken up in order to make my way to the landing pods for an inspection.
Awesome, fantastic. Cool, so that's where the scene will be set, and that's where we are. So in every scene, the other players are also going to play an active role. So the person to the active player's right, so in this case, it would be Jim. You're going to be playing, so in number terms, the person with one number higher than you, you're going to be playing environmental control. And basically what that means is that you're responsible for creating, describing, adding detail to the environment of the scene. Other people can drop stuff in, but it is your final say on what is actually in the scene, environment-wise. You can say what they see, how the ship behaves, what they hear and smell. You can add as much as you want, but you're not going to add any complications or dangers to the scene. Even if the scene is unpredictable and maybe a dangerous environment, there's not going to be any actual dangers that you're going to introduce. The player to the left, so Erez, it'll be the player one number lower, is going to be the personnel management. That means it's your responsibility to add other people or machines. So Ursa, the ship's computer, or androids, or anyone else you want. These will be NPCs. You can play them however you like. Give them a name, would make it great. And again, same thing, describe them, play them, interact with the player with them as much as you want. They're not going to be introducing any opposition or obstacles necessarily. That is the job for the person sitting across the table from you. So in this case, it's going to be Pat. You'll be the hostile element. So as the scene progresses, you're going to be adding adversarial forces in it. You can add difficulties and obstacles, making it more difficult for the active player to achieve whatever goal they're trying to get. Probably not going to kill or severely injure another player's character without their consent, but you can make it as dangerous or interesting as you want. The way we're going to end a scene is by playing a face card. So once the scene has gone on for a few minutes, however long it feels, someone can play a face card from their hand, and that will say how the scene is ended. If you play a king to end the scene, the active player is going to resolve the scene in some active way, whether through some sort of sudden initiative or physical force or violence even. If you play a queen to end the scene, it's going to be a softer resolution. So you can use empathy, negotiation, cooperation, non-violent skills, whatever you like. If someone plays a jack to end the scene, something's gone very wrong, and the scene will end with an unresolved problem. Maybe someone was injured or endangered. Maybe part of the ship has been damaged. You can end on a cliffhanger. So if you have a face card and you would like to end the scene, you can play it whenever it feels appropriate, no matter which role you're playing. If nobody has a face card, or we just want to let the scene sort of settle on its own, also totally fine. The active player will just narrate a kind of neutral ending to the scene, and yeah, and then we'll go on to the next player. And whoever plays that face card will have the next scene. Cool. Sweet. So let's start with the environmental stuff. So Jim, what does the computer bank slash awakening area look like?
So this is where I envision I envision the ship as being it's got like a series of, it's like several rings, and the pods themselves are kind of around the outside, but there's basically a habitat ring, right? And that spins to give us gravity when we're awake. And so there's a mechanism that, you know, kind of slides the pods in, puts them into the ring. We wake up in the ring so that we've got gravity. But when we're asleep, it puts us back out. And essentially, you know, we don't need gravity. We don't need, you know, like space does most of the, you know, cryogenic part of it for us, right? You know, we've got absolute zero temperature access right there. So as long as you control it and how it happens and everything, then, but I think that, so it is optimized to have it feel as normal as possible. Whatever researchers put this together wanted, it's not like a pod that you're locked in, or like you're locked in a pod, but then it drops you into something that actually looks like a little bedroom, and everybody wakes up in what looks like a little bedroom. And so it brings to mind like a hotel, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's like multiple layers, and you wake up in your little room, and you know, you take a moment to acclimate and get over the cryo sickness and stuff like this. It's got a little sink, it's got a little mirror, and then everybody kind of comes out as they feel okay to come out. And there's like a little courtyard, and I think it actually has like a little fountain with some, you know, flowers and stuff like that in it.
Nice. Bobby, is there anyone else there when Glenda wakes up?
I think the computer for some reason woke her life partner with her, whoever
cool.
that
Awesome.
might be. I'll
what's
let
her name?
decide.
Yeah, let's find her name.
What would Glenda
yeah.
want her partner be? Man, woman, or it doesn't matter.
Surprise me.
Okay. It's a guy. His name is Grant. He's not an officer of any sort. He would be like a regular, someone who's there. Usually you don't get awakened with him because you have to do your job, but the computer chose to wake him up with you. And as far as you know, in the room you're waking up, that's the only person right now.
Awesome. And you can play, what was his name again? Grant?
Grant.
Cool. And you can play him in the scene. So cool. Sebastian, how does this play out? Oh yeah, and change your screen names to your character names if you can on Zoom, just so it's easier to see everyone. Fantastic.
I think the wake up is usually pretty kind of out of the cryo sickness, etc. No matter how often you did it, it's always still jarring and a bit disorienting. So she wakes up with a sharp inhale, rubs the eyes, and goes, "Let this be planet 4. Let this be planetfall. God, let this be planetfall. Okay, which one?
You hear probably a yawn right next to you.
Okay. Okay. Apparently, I'm not the only one. Let this be planetfall. It's a good sign. So let's see. She grabs after her name tag, which she wears, and where she has basically for the past times that she's been frozen and unfrozen again, every time made a little nook for herself in order to remember like the what time that is, because you just lose track of that. It's like there is no time in this world, and this kind of is her time tracking device. So she looks at that thing as she groggily goes up and then counts the notches, and basic space right now is almost running out. And with her fingernails, 37, 38.
Doesn't always have to be work, you know.
Grant?
Yes. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while.
Han, come here, give me a hug, come on.
He will give a hug. It will
Okay.
be a little cold, but he will give one.
And Pat, feel free to jump in at any time and add some difficulty or obstacle or danger to the scene.
But we're staying in bed today.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? I mean, I have no idea where we've been. Oh, it's so good to feel you. Yes, you're cold,
How
but
long
I'm
has it
also
been?
cold, and I don't mind. Ursa, what's the year since launch?
And areas you can also play Ursa, the ship's computer.
Oh.
Or
Since
if it's a problem, then Pat can even jump in.
I could play. Oh yeah.
Yeah, either way or both.
It has been 9,451 years.
Oh, that's like 150 years since my last freeze. Han, what's yours? I think it's 150.
Think about 1,000. I don't really count.
When was the last time? She takes a tap out again. We met 5 ticks ago. That was 1,000 years. This is still doing my head in, like, I don't know how many clicks away. Anyway, good to. Do you have a schedule already? Do you know what's up for you? You have a program?
He probably takes something out and there's nothing on it. No, I think I'm supposed to stay in bed with you.
Pat,
that's
what's going wrong in the scene?
As soon as you say that I'm supposed to stay in bed with you, an announcement comes over, Ursa. All personnel, please report to your scheduled stations in 5 minutes.
And I really
We have
like
5
it, but
minutes.
5 minutes is not enough. And I'm still
How
getting
was I even woken up?
I have no idea. Can we? Okay, I have no idea what this is about, but let's go to our stations and Ursa, are the interpersonal comms working again?
Comms offline.
Ah, shite.
Stay with me, like, let's say 3 minutes. And then you have 2 minutes to run.
Fair enough. Let's hug it out for 3 minutes, and then let's be back here in an hour. Okay, darling? No matter what I'm gonna do, I'll just have a first look at whatever it is. You have a first look at whatever it is. We'll meet back here at this chamber. We'll find our way back here, and I know next to any of these fountains there is one of the little soda machines or whatever, if they're still working. And next to that, there is usually a kind of a, you know, these first aid boxes that they set up. Yeah, usually I don't know, I still have access to one of the key cards, so we can disappear there for a while. So in an hour, hun?
Can't say no. You are the first officer.
I have no command
Yes,
over
ma'am.
you other than oh, come on, don't be like that.
Fine.
Okay,
Fine, in 1 hour.
good.
I'll just
See you
stay
there.
here for 5 minutes extra in the bed. You know, after waking up after 1,000 years of sleep, you just need 5 more minutes.
Fair enough.
Cool. It
To-
sounds like this scene can kind of come to a neutral end unless anyone has a strong idea for playing a face card. In which case, unless you have more to add, but if not, we can end it. And then if no one plays a card, play will go to the left. So Erez would be the next active player.
I just
Does
like to say
anyone-
that Ursa
Yeah, go
comes
for
out
it.
like right at the end of that, right at the end of the scene. Ursa's like 2 minutes to report to your stations to avoid point demerits on your record.
Awesome. Cool. And at the end of the scene, if you would like to edit the scene description, so that would be Sebastian, the active player, you'd add just like a short sentence to remind us what happened there. Awesome. So Erez, since we just ended the scene neutrally, will be our next active player. If you don't have 7 cards at this time, please draw back up to 7.
And just choose a number and put it on the correct number on top. right?
Yeah. Yeah. And at some point, you may not have a numbered card to play, and I'll talk about what happens then.
So let's do this. Why did it?
Nice. Cool. Then what's our lower bound for time here? When is that happening?
That's probably how long after the ship was like? We said about 60 years after.
Yeah.
So that's basically the day they found out they're not going to. Like,
Cool.
their direction is wrong. Something was like a millimeter off at the beginning, which became light years in the end. Unknown what caused it.
Cool. So like 60-ish years after launch and just after the deviation.
Maybe like
Cool.
7 years, because there was like a decade of them still being
Oh,
asleep,
nice. Oh, yeah. I
not
love that.
knowing. I don't even know what
Cool.
caused it. So
Yeah. Cool. So this whole story is going to be post deviation. I love it. Cool. So where is the scene taking place and what's happening with Bobby?
It's probably like I don't know, like a market area or like a big mess hall with like little shops. They don't really use money and stuff, but
Mhm.
like an area where people can just walk around, enjoy their life a bit, like
Nice.
just
Plaza.
entertainment, food, like maybe there's like a holiday or something.
Cool.
And people just found out, you know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Yeah.
So
Cool.
fun
for
to be a
this scene-
security guard.
Yeah. For the scene, Sebastian will be taking care of the environment. So describing the sights and sounds and smells of the location. Pat will be the personnel. So you'll describe and play the parts of any NPCs that are there. And Jim will be adding opposition or danger to the scene. So I will leave you to do that as you will.
Bobby, help me again. Which space are we in right now? What room?
It's like a mess hall, but it's not exactly a mess hall. It's like a mall. Like there are shops and entertainment and stuff like that. Like,
Okay.
Like a promenade kind of thing.
yeah, take a mall just in a spaceship and not with real money.
Okay. So this is a super squeaky clean mall that is kind of created out of a fake marble shiny material. It's actually some kind of plastic, but it looks and it feels like has the temperature and the look of marble all around, with big window displays that all give you a kind of, I don't know, a vintage feel, as if you were in Zurich and were passing by kind of old hat makers and clock makers and things like that with felt. Obviously, all of that is just projection. So realistically, these are all fake windows that you walk by. And then actually, when you touch the windows, little displays pop up. You type in some numbers into some touch display, and then out of some slot, out of the total display screen plops an item that you get there. But it sort of it also tries to give people a certain feeling of just being somewhere in a real place that is not in space when you're walking there, and sometimes they're cycling through. So this is a Zurich level, and then there's the level somewhere else, with different kind of cities that they emulate. The weird thing that has happened here is that at tons of places we see posters and flyers hanging about with kind of little conspiracy theories or calls for meetings or calls for protest. So this is the trace of different kinds of people as they get frozen or unfrozen, trying to organize themselves and trying to make sense of what happens and trying to share information, because for some reason they're not really trusting whatever the official story is.
I feel like you may be
AI.
I feel like you may be starting to tread on my territory there.
Sorry, you go. Yeah, you're right. Fair enough. So
Like you saying there's a bunch of posters hanging up, we're not quite sure what they mean, is cool. But when you start interjecting the problems that those posters might cause, that feels like we're kind of starting to maybe tread on each other's toes.
Perfectly agree. Yeah. Lots of weird posters that usually are not hanging there, and androids walking by trying to get rid of those posters in the environment. Okay.
Pat, what kind of people are there? Yeah.
Bobby, I think you notice somebody kind of standing in front of one of these posters, like kind of looking at it. It's somebody you recognize, not just from being on the ship, but somebody that you actually knew you pretty much your whole younger life. It's like one of your good friends that you grew up with. We'll say his name is Rizzo. You've always called him Rizzo. That may be his real name, maybe a nickname that you guys gave as a child. But yeah, Rizzo, somebody you grew up with. You probably didn't even know he was on the ship until just now.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll probably walk like I'm a guy, like a security guard, so I have to be, at work and stuff. So I'll probably slowly walk towards him and be like, Rizzo?
Bobby?
Rizzo! And he'll
yeah,
grab you.
yeah, definitely Rizzo. Bobby, it's wow. Last time I saw you was on Earth.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, technically that's like, I don't know what, 70 years now, 80 years now, I guess. I mean, what's time
like that
anymore?
Yeah, I never asked. I just never asked.
What are you doing here? I mean, you got selected for the ship?
I showed the badge.
Oh, you work here.
Security. Yeah.
Oh,
just keeping the peace. It's usually pretty easy.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt right there. Usually pretty easy, he says. And there is a shout and a loud crash from the ship, from the kiosk across the way, which is a like a cooking supply store, like a kitchen supply store, right? And it's got there is like and there's like yelling, shouting. It sounds like there's like some kind of an altercation going on over there.
Well, I guess our hello has to be cut short, but I'll see you right after, I promise.
Yeah. I'll wait. Yeah. Do what you have to do. Do what you have to do.
And come over even, like, just don't be too close, and I'll run over.
Yeah, I think Rizzo kind of doesn't really run side by side, but kind of tails.
Not run, but yeah,
Savvy.
quick stepping towards the noise. What was
Sebastian,
it exactly?
What does the shop look like?
So usually the shops are actually not spaces that you enter. They're just basically these flat fronts, and then there is delivery. But for some reason, somebody has managed to tear these surfaces completely open and to crash the windows. And then when you look behind that, it's actually some kind of pretty intricate machinery of kind of conveyor belts and little robots and robot arms hanging of these conveyor belts, taking things out of super narrow spaces in order to load them, and then load them basically in the delivery slot underneath. But somebody torn all of this thing open, so you can look in these stacks and stacks of goods hanging there, and some robot arms dangling around, malfunctioning for some reason.
Yeah, and you can see that the couple of dudes that have ripped that have vandalized this, this like fancy automat, are wearing the like the sort of digital camo shirts of the colonists that have styled themselves as the militia, as the ones that are going to protect, that believe first contact is going to be, red in tooth and claw, right? And that we all need to be ready. And, they've like every time you have a meeting, they say, we need to train everybody in hand-to-hand combat and all this kind of stuff. And, they're voted down every time, but they have busted but nobody worries about them because like nobody's armed or anything like that, right? But they've ripped the front of this shop open, and they are pulling out, the ceramic knives and vegetable choppers and stuff like this and everything, which are as close as they're ever going to get to actually being armed as civilians. And one of them, grabs like a ceramic sushi knife out of there, spins around, holds it, kind of points it in your face, Bobby, and says, we're going to make them turn this fucking ship around, and you're going to come help us, or I'm going to gut you like a fish, he says to you.
How many are there?
There's 2 of them.
Oh, okay.
They're with you and Rizzo, and I think the rest of the crowd is just kind of like, like stunned silence as everybody looks on to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, and feel free to play the scene out as you like. If anyone wants to make an ending to the scene happen one way or the other, anytime you want to do that too.
Probably Bobby is one of the only people that are armed here. They probably have like this electric thing to zap people.
I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play the king. Do I just start in the discard pile, Mark? You're muted. Mark.
Yeah, throw it in the discard pile, and then Bobby will end the scene with some action.
So the first thing he does is like press a button somewhere that calls for support, because 1 against 2 is easy, but like he doesn't want it to be like, he wants it to be clean. He wants it to be clean, even though it's not going to be. So he presses and he like raises his hands and he's like, we don't want any trouble. Please put the knives, the sushi knife away. Nothing is going on. Nothing is wrong. Please, we've had a peaceful few decades. No one was harmed. Please stop.
Time for this was 10 years ago, says the guy, and lunges right at you.
He would probably he's probably trained, so he probably would catch him and bring him down on the floor and hold his hands and take out the knife and push it aside and look at the other guy. I don't know what he had, but be like, please, it doesn't need to be like that. And like he puts one of those handcuffs on that guy in the meantime. Please, it doesn't have to be this way.
Yeah, the dude that's down on the ground is like flopping and cursing at you and demanding his rights and stuff like this. So
yeah, he will be handcuffed very quickly. And he looks at the other guy. Please, let's not do this. I did call for like help, so I think that's the people person supposed to say if any help comes.
And Pat, since you're in charge of the
Yeah,
NPCs and
people.
stuff, you can say how the incoming guards take
If-
care of that.
If any
Yeah,
come.
I think as the guards are running in, you have the one subdued, and I think you emboldened your friend Rizzo here, who actually stealthily picked up the knife that you disarmed the other perpetrator with. And
Yeah, I pushed it away. Yeah.
yeah, and I think Rizzo got it, and in a kind of sense of heroism or towards his old friend Bobby, kind of holds it to the other militiaman's neck. And that's what you see when the actual force arrives. Is
Awesome.
that
Risa, no.
Fantastic. Great. That's a great end of the scene, I think. Cool. So go ahead and edit the description of that first scene to give us just little notes to remind us what it was. Pat played the king, right? So you'll be the next active player, and everyone draw up to 7 cards, even if it wasn't your turn. Make sure everyone has 7 cards.
Oh, and we're gonna call that militia guy Granger. Granger. That's his name. Yeah. Rolf Ball.
Oh, I can see how many cards people have. It looks like Jim needs to draw up 1 too.
yeah, let's go with
That's handy.
let's go with the 4.
I'm supposed to have 7, right? I've got 7 in
Yeah.
my hand. 7
Everyone
in my
should
hand
have
right
7.
now.
Oh, it's showing 6 on here. Okay. As long as you have 7, that's all that matters.
Yep. Mhm.
Quick meta question. If I remember the rules correctly, we get involved. We have to get involved. Our characters involved in a scene when we have the same card.
If you have a matching, yeah. So if you have a 4, put your 4 down there, and your character will be in that scene.
Okay. And else we can, if we want to, we can choose to propose ourselves to be in the scene.
Yeah, or they can invite you to the scene if they like to.
Okay, cool.
I have 6 cards, but it says I have 7.
Oh.
could that
Just
be?
make sure you have 7 in your hand, and whatever it says, it's probably a little glitch. Disadvantages of online.
It must count something, like that's supposed to be.
Cool. So this is Pat's scene. You'll say where you are and what's going on. Jim will be the people person. Eris will be the environment person, and Sebastian will be providing antagonism.
Okay.
Does it sorry, I just an interface question.
Yeah.
Does it maybe count a card that's on the table but not in front of you as being in your hand, or
Oh,
I don't know, because now it still says
Yeah.
7.
okay. Yeah,
Even though
whatever.
I
I don't
just
know.
took one out.
As long as you have 7, that's all that
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
7 showing. Okay.
I
Cool.
did want to ask one rule
Yeah, yeah.
question. What if I have the same number twice?
Oh, that's fine. Then you can use it twice. Yeah, as
Oh,
long as
I can use it on the same place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Ah,
So
okay.
we can repeat scenes in the same
Yes,
era.
you absolutely
I thought
can.
we were filling the timeline and that was going to end the.
Oh yeah.
the thing.
The game will
Okay.
end when the last card is drawn. So it looks like there's 17 more cards.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I should have said that up front. And yeah, if you play a scene that's currently happening, your scene will happen contemporaneously with that scene. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the same place, but it should be about the same time. So if something else interesting is
Could we
happening.
maybe take our first break here? This
Absolutely,
seems like
yeah.
a good time for it.
Yes, we've taken an hour. Yep. Sorry, I should have announced that at the beginning. Yeah, let's
No
take
worries.
5 before we start the screen, before we start the scene. And yeah, I'll see you in 5. I'll pause the recording too. And we're back. Cool. So who did we have with the card? That was Pat. Is that right? Awesome.
Yep.
Set us up and we'll go from there.
So I think this scene takes place in probably not necessarily like a central medical bay, but kind of like in the medical sector of the ship, I guess you could say. For the awake people, all the cryo people are taken care of by the medical bots.
But yeah, is this happening?
Yeah. So I think you see Dr. Anoya Policarpio like just got readouts of a new mutation in a virus. It's not anything particularly deadly. It's just a new mutation that's occurred, and she's kind of reading up on that. Yeah, and that's the general setup.
And what's the time? What's the date?
Let's see. So 6 was what, 9,000 years? That was 10 years. So I want to
We got
say
a good
this
spread.
yeah, it could be anywhere in there. I'm just gonna kind of stick it somewhere in the middle. I'm gonna say this is about 4,000 years after the deviation.
Is there anything she wants in this scene?
I think the I think she wants to somehow improve the medical capacities of not only taking care of the people that are awake, but the people that are asleep, because this mutated in cryo sleep, this virus. And I think that she's kind of having doubts about the cryo medical bots.
Eris, what does the medical bay look like?
It's very white. It's very clean. It's basically a hallway with a bunch of small doors that open into very small private rooms for each sick person. It's very like closed. Like there are at the end of the hallway, probably there's like areas that are bigger for surgeries or research or whatever, but in the area where patients are, it's very closed. The rooms are kind of small. They had to make everything tight because they didn't expect people to really get sick while being frozen for just, but after 4,000 years, I guess. Yeah. So it is a little claustrophobic here, like kind of. It's very tight.
Cool. And who's in the scene with her?
I think that's
Jim, yeah.
yeah, that's me. So definitely is your nurse, who is like, this thing where it was like she was like let's oh, you know what, give me just a quick second here. I'm going to open my make sure I got my fantasy name generator program handy here, because that's every online gamer's friend. Give me just a second for real names here. Okay. Yeah. Nurse Fumiko, who is like, barely out of her teens, medical student, and like essentially drafted. Like, you went through the records to see if anybody had any medical training, and she's the closest to a doctor you found. And so she wakes up every time you wake up. And I think she is she's much closer to breaking than you are, I think. And so she's someone who you have to do a certain amount of care for, as well as, I mean, she's very competent and really good, but like wants to stay up, like wants to stay up when you go to sleep and all this kind of stuff and everything. Seems to think that by sheer force of will, she can somehow fix this when she can't. And I think the other person that's there in the scene with you is I'm going to say Dr. Dobbs, Dobbs. And he's not a medical doctor. He's got a PhD in computer science, and he is responsible for all of the medical algorithms, and is the one that always argues for letting the bots take care of it, because they can do better at this than you possibly could. And those are the two, and they're kind of, angel and devil on your shoulder whenever you're here in the medical bay, trying to treat people.
Cool. What is Dr. Polycarpo, up to in the scene?
Yeah, I think actually she's confronting Dr. Dobbs about, the cryobots, the cryomedical bots. Like look, they missed this virus, and it had a 1,000 years of incubation time for it to mutate. And yeah, it's not dangerous, but at the same time, you don't know what could have been. We could have lost the whole core.
I'm sorry, I
Sebastian
stopped.
helped. Feel free to jump in with
Yeah,
stuff.
I will.
Cool.
And Dr. Dobbs says, I'm sorry, I had trouble hearing you every time for every word after you said, but you said it's not dangerous. Why are you bothering me with this?
Look, Dr.
If
Dobbs,
it were dangerous, the algorithms would have recognized that. They would have done whatever triage was necessary. And I'm not even sure even why I'm awake here.
because how long past our due date are we out in space?
Well, by my calculations, and he snidely says, by my calculations, and then like looks at the clock on the wall that tells everybody every second, how long it's been. What did you say? We're at like 4,000 years or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he says, 3,938 years, 10 hours, 15 minutes, and 30 seconds. And every single one of those seconds, we are alive because I was able to reprogram the bots to do the job they needed to do to keep us alive.
And they fall apart like everything else on the ship seems to be starting to do. Shouldn't we be catching viruses in the bud as soon as possible?
Well, if you want to get out there in a spacesuit and go examine the people while they're in the cryopods, be my guest.
It's not about examining the cryopods. It's about having your machines work correctly to identify the viruses before they get out of hand 1,000 years later.
So my understanding is that these viruses are mutations, yes?
Yeah.
Which means they're unique, yes?
Yes.
Which means I cannot give them the data to notice them. I can program them to notice variances, but not to this thing where you seem to think that their magic is.
But doctor,
really
this is an
distressing
old
to me.
This is an old virus.
You see how Nurse Fumiko, when she was listening in on the numbers that Dr. Dobbs threw up, she has frantically been trying to chase up what this virus is exactly about, and she nips you, Dr. Enoya, into the side and says, "Doctor, if I can interrupt this conversation just for a second, you have a look here."
Yeah, for me, when was the last time you slept? Terrible.
Can't remember. Maybe I don't know, 3 or 4 freezing cycles ago. It was surely enough. But you were saying that this thing had a 1,000-year incubation period?
No, it's just it has 1,000 years to mutate, and it's obviously that this virus is able to mutate in cryosleep, which is something we've never seen before.
Well, you said that Dr. Dobbs' robots was missing the fact that the people got the virus in the cryosleep, but I looked at the different dates when the different people got the possible incubation, and it seems like each of their pods was visited by one of the cryobots just before they were diagnosed.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And she looks over with a very scared eyes to Dr. Dobbs.
I'm like, send that over to my data pad. And looking at the data pad, Dr. Dobbs, you may need to see this.
All right. What am I looking at? This is all. None of this is.
Every single one of the patients that had the mutated virus in them was visited by a cryomedical bot just beforehand.
That can't be correct. I'm sure that there was some sort of variance the bots detected that your instruments didn't notice, and that's what called their attention to it. I think you've got the cart before the horse here.
Nurse Fumiko, do you have a theory?
I assume somebody must have done something to the bots. She says, just blinking her eyes and sweating, and points at the chart. And I've checked the records of the bots, and it seems like the last 2 people they visited have been, well, basically you, me, and everyone on this level.
Eris, did you play that, Jack?
Yeah.
Awesome. What's the big bad thing that happens at the end?
Do I need to say?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, well, probably at least 2 of the characters here are sick, along with a lot of other people. And as the years go by and people are awoken, some people don't wake up basically. And
Mm.
it's never really, and one of the people that is never woken up is that computer doctor. So we never really know what happened with those droids. What were they doing? Like we never ever know. We just keep
Awesome.
counting on them. At least for now, we
cool.
keep counting on them for a few thousand years. We'll see when it ends.
That's a great, terrible end. Awesome. Pat, go ahead and edit the scene description to give us a little reminder of what happened. Arrows will be the central player next, and everyone draw up to 7 if you have not.
I now have 3 of the same numbers. There was someone who didn't do a scene yet.
Yeah, so since you played the Jack, you can set up the scene for your character.
I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, once all the face cards come out, then we'll get everyone gets 2 scenes started, so that it all evens out eventually.
Let's see. Let's do an 8. Let's keep
And if anyone else has an 8, throw it down, and you'll be part of the scene. Woohoo! Yeah.
Finally have 8.
I couldn't tell who that was.
That's me.
Awesome. Cool. So it'll be Bobby and Bartholomew in the scene together. Bobby, when are we and where are we?
So 6 is 9,000 years.
Yeah.
8
9451.
Yeah. Yes. 8 would probably be just after the 10,000.
Ooh boy, yeah. Okay.
Maybe, yeah, just after the 10,000.
Maybe it's like at the 10,000 year anniversary party or
Yeah, at
something
the
like that.
10,000. Yes. Yeah, that explains why they woke up some
Love
security
it.
guards.
Yeah.
And where are you?
So yeah, I'll go with that. It's a very big, it's probably the only big hallway in this entire ship. A big room where like probably 1,000 people could fit easily. And if you put more, it just becomes a little tighter. It's a big area. There's probably, I don't know about the environment, but it's a party. It's going to be a big party. 10,000 years. Let's party. You know, how many years beyond what we were supposed to be? Let's just party.
Cool. So
Let's do
Sebastian
fun.
is going to be environment, Pat's going to be personnel, and Jim will be both in the scene and the opposition. Amazing.
So yeah, so this is the big hall. There is usually not a party hall planned, but basically this big hall is the one where usually landing ships are supposed to be launched. So that's why it's the big hangar. And basically they made space, put all of the ships to the side. So you see loads of different ships on the side, and the careful observer will notice that there are some apparent gaps in those lines of ships there along the sides in the hangar. Other than that, it has a basically stunning view into space to one side out. So it's a bit like a pocket that is slim to one end and then just opens up to a sharp intersection. And that sharp intersection is just one big seamless window that has nothing but space and one planet flying to the side there. The only thing, and then underneath a slit, which is the actual slit for spaceships flying out. The only issue is that piece of glass is papered over with basically a spider web of millennia of little repairs. So you can still see space through it, but when you focus your eyes on that, you just notice that it's basically like all little cracklings of glass held together by spit and chewing gum.
As far as people there, it's a huge mix of people that are awake at this time. Of course, some people never woke up from, as stated from the previous possible virus problems. I think you still see Rizzo. This is like one of the first times you've seen him since that whole incident thousands of years ago. This might be the first cycle that Rizzo has actually been awake with you again. And you notice that that Rizzo's wearing all black and has a jacket and kind of a very odd kind of handmade black hole patch on his sleeve.
So I probably stand like in a small guard area, like a guard post in the middle of a group of a lot of people as I see him. But Master Plumber. And why is Bartholomew here?
Bartholomew's not here to start with. He's going to come in.
Okay. I see. So he probably just stands there, says hello to people, shakes hands. He sees Rizzo. He's not certain if to call him over or not, but he probably like waves to him.
Rizzo looks really confused when he sees Bobby, like very confused.
I would probably walk a little towards him and like wave him like, come over.
Yeah, Rizzo, like, you know, he was having a conversation with somebody and like tells him to hold on as approaches Bobby.
Hey, I can't leave the area. Hey, long time no see, I think.
You're still security?
I don't think they changed our jobs much. I think some people do, but after we lost some people, like there was even more need for security. Yeah.
And there's a clang over your head. And you look up and the duct, like, you know, the duct cover there just kind of swings down and sort of flaps for a second. And Bartholomew's face appears, you know, kind of in the ductwork. And he looks down at you and he says, hey, Bobby, what? Oh, Rizzo. Yeah, I guess you might be useful for this too. Bobby, I don't know what you're in the middle of right now, but unless you're stopping a ride or something, you better come see this. And as he's saying it, he's like clambering out of the duct and he hangs on it like on one arm for a second and then boop, drops into the booth with you guys.
He'd probably look at Rizzo, like really check him out, all the black clothes and all that. And he'll be like, you can enjoy the party. I'll go help.
Yeah, get me a canapé.
A what?
Okay.
A canapé. Did you go to school? What? Forget it.
I don't know what's a canapé.
Yes. All right. Okay. Look. Anyways, you know, whatever. Like, if they do, we even have food left on the ship? I don't know. And if you
A
bring me
little droid is coming by with a kind of attached turnover, what I don't know, what looks like a trash can plate or snow, and on that you see that somebody took some kind of mushroom, desiccated mushroom bars that were just chopped in little slices, and then somebody tried their best effort to squeeze out of a tube something that is a kind of yeast paste onto that, and the robot goes around. Canapes, tasties, tasties.
Great. And Bartholomew
tasties,
like reaches a
tasties.
long arm up and just grabs a handful of them and, you know, pops one in his mouth. He goes, that's mustard adjacent. That's not bad. Look, come on, I got to show you this. And
I just need to call someone to replace me. And he says something like about, please send the replacement to this and this point. And he asks Reza, he did say he wants 2 people. Do you want to help?
I don't, Bobby. It's not really. That's not really my bag, man.
What?
I mean,
the hero of the mall. It's not your bag. Come on.
the hero of the mall still working security.
Not the, no, I think he means, never mind. And he'll climb, he'll ask for help to climb up because he's not a monkey.
And you know, like I do the like put your foot there, and we clamber through the ducts for a little while, and kind of like come around, and you know, then I like open another, and we drop into a little room where there is a like a you know, it's like a storage, like a little storage area, right? And I walk over to a barrel and I say, you might want to hold your nose, and I pop the top of the barrel, and there's like a body folded up in it.
What? What the hell?
And I point at it and I say, this has been here a long time. This is hermetically sealed. It only stinks like this because I opened it up the other day. But I got no idea how long this has been in here. But this is bad news. And I point at the, you know, and it looks like our like the project director, right? The person who's kind of in charge of the whole thing. Who is right now giving a speech at the party. And it's their body folded up in the barrel.
How? Why?
I don't know. We need
wait.
your security, buddy. That's why I got you for this.
I'm just like a guard.
You're all we got.
Okay. He'll start checking things like, is this a human body, basically? Like an actual long,
I mean, like
dead.
I mean, we got to get the doc to check it to know for sure, but I mean, like, there's something weird going on.
What the hell is going on? He'll probably call for like some sort of android that floats to help with carrying or something like that.
Oh no,
he
no,
always
sorry,
does call.
sorry, no, there's no, like, we're 10,000 years on. There are no androids. This is going to be you and me dragging this thing through the ducts.
Oh God, are you serious? Bartholomew, usually when I see you, it has something to do with stench, but come on.
Look, buddy.
This is not even plumbing. What are you doing here?
This is my happy place, okay? I need some place to go. You know, there are, look, we both know that there are sensors in the rest of the ship that if you try to smoke, it'll set off a whole fire alarm thing, and I got to go through a whole rigmarole, okay?
Yes, there's a reason for that. You're not supposed to smoke on the ship.
I know. That's why I do it here. But look,
that's part of the ship.
I never even.
Anyway, you know who this is, right?
I mean, I know who it looks like. Yeah.
Okay, we have to take it. Like, fine. I'll lift one side and we'll start dragging it, and above the party, basically. And all the way to the other side as far as possible. What is someone putting on? Oh,
and I played a queen. I'd played a queen there, so this is going to be resolved somehow. You know, through like negotiation or talking or something like that.
we probably reach the end of the area where it's the big hall and start taking it down, and probably like there's a few people waiting there, like already to grab it. Is there a doctor there to start testing? Probably some doctor there of some sort. Probably what's her name?
I do. Can we bring Dr. Policarpio into this?
Actually, no, it's Nurse Kamiko.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay,
And
sure.
Miko, she's probably
Yeah.
going to explode. She survived.
Yeah, yeah, fine.
Which basically she sees the body of that guy who's currently giving an amazing speech about the 10,000 year anniversary.
And
of
then
the ship.
I'm going to wrap this, right, because we're okay. And so I think Nurse Kamiko, you know, like they do some tests. It turns out to be the director. And the other one is DNA identical to the corpse. So we learn that the highest up echelons of the people in charge of the expedition have clones of themselves. So that if anything happens to them, they'll still survive the journey. And that's what gets revealed, that this is something that, and this has been developing over the last 10,000 years. And I think I want to put our doctor, this is something initiated by the computer algorithm doctor, the sleazy doctor there.
Nice.
And so now we learn that there's clones of the clones ready to go of the higher ups.
Cool. So you're going to be central for the next scene. Everyone draw up and write a little description of the scene on the underneath the card.
All right. All right, and I am going to do this. And date on this is going to be 75 years post-launch. And this is the attempt to completely reboot the ship's systems to get it going back in the right direction, which we know is going to fail. But exactly how it fails and what goes wrong and what complications that creates, I think, is what we're going to play to find out in the scene. Is that cool to do that, even if we know this isn't going to work to get the ship turned around? But okay, cool, yeah.
Yeah. Where is your scene taking place? And does anyone else have it too?
Yeah. So I have one. I already played it in there. And ooh, who was that?
Yeah, I played it as well.
Awesome.
Nice. So cool. So we've got Glenda and Dr. Policarpio. And I think that this scene is going to take place like in the data core. Like we need to, like, it was never designed to be, turned off and then back on, right? So there's some kind of we've got to set off a targeted EMP to get it to reboot. And there's we're not sure how this is going to work. There may, the doctor needs to be there in case anybody gets hurt or gets gets heart arrhythmia because of the EMP or whatever, stuff like this. I mean, and, And Glenda is there because probably because we had to sacrifice one of the landing pods somehow to get this to work.
Am I the environmental control in this? Okay, so like I think the data core is a very cramped server space. Like you can't even really walk straight. You kind of have to angle your body a little bit to get between the server corridors and stuff. It's super hot in there, even with the cooling from space. It's just that much data, and that much that much storage space for this many people in this kind of trip.
Yeah, all that processing power.
Yeah, is a lot. So it's extremely loud in there. So even somebody standing next to you, you have to kind of, raise your voice in order for them to hear you.
I had a negative on that. It wasn't meant for humans to move through. That's part of the reason Bartholomew is even there. Just humans aren't supposed to be there.
Yeah, and I think so in terms of who is there and how they are there, for exactly that reason, basically everybody in the data core is dressed out in some spacesuits that are from the landing pods. Because they know if the systems get turned down and get turned off, right, energy might fall off, oxygen, all the systems might fall off. So it's better that the people that are doing this kind of reboot are completely basically safe if the systems can't get rebooted for a day or two even, right? Everybody else in cryo sleep, presumably. So we have basically a core team here of some medical officers, Dr. Dodds, who helps with the system operations and the rebooting of the system, and then Glenda and some members of the landing crew, just because they know how to operate in zero gravity in these suits and move about quickly in the ship if they need to.
Yeah,
and the
totally
doctor
makes
if
sense.
anything goes wrong. Yeah,
that totally makes sense that Dobbs would insist on being part of this. Yeah, that makes sense. And so Bartholomew, like there's that thing where like, again, like some hatch pops open and Bartholomew, kind of scrambles out and he says, well, I hooked it up like you told me to. I hope it works. It's going to be a shame if I have to, live out the rest of my days by myself.
Bartholomew, we're monitoring the cryopods. If we get even a flicker of energy surge in one of those pods, we will not lose a single person on this ship. I will ask you to abort immediately.
All right. I mean, that's push comes to shove. I can just pull a plug out with my my bare mitts.
Officer, are we clear for this?
Everybody, she looks up on a pad and has something in a note. Everybody on their stations. Landing crew Charlie, everybody on their station. Excellent. Please, everybody, also civic personnel, please tap the button on the right of your shoulder. That activates your magnetic shoes, so that should gravity system fall out, you're not suddenly flying around in space. If you haven't yet, you need to close your visors now and press the button on the left of your shoulder, the red button, that's the oxygen button right now. Once this system gets rebooted, we will have a time where we have no radio communication because of the EMP. That hopefully should last only a couple of minutes, but we're good to go.
You hear kind of the servers even kind of grow in loudness as everybody's activating all this gear and equipment and stuff and is connecting and data's getting transferred. All of a sudden, yeah, you can hear it gets even louder in here.
Yeah, and Bartholomew says, well, here we go. If this works, you bastards are going to let me smoke a cigar. And he, scrambles back down inside. And I'm going to go ahead and play my Jack here to give us a disaster.
So I was going to add for you a disaster.
Oh, okay.
just
Yeah,
in
go ahead.
case.
Yeah.
That's my idea for disaster anyway. You saw stars when you were playing with the thing. There were stars in the skies, and then there was a moment when there were no stars in the sky. None at all. Like, and that moment when you turn it off, probably, like you'd feel like gravity would turn off, but it didn't. Everyone stayed down for some reason, even though gravity was shown to be off. Yeah. Welcome to finish the disaster.
Yeah, and I
Of us
think
passing by that.
and we flick the switch, and there's that there's like a pulse, and for a second we like it's like a brownout, right? Like the lights kind of flicker for a second, and our comms go out, and I think as we established, never come back on. And the ship accelerates. You know, like the we didn't realize that the computer would basically have defenses built in to keep it from being tampered with. And our attempts to reset it basically like permanently lock us out, and it accelerates to get to where it wants to go faster without understanding it's going the wrong direction and just hurtling us into the void.
Awesome. Cool. Go ahead and write down the short description of the scene there. And even though you were just the active player, since you played your face card, you will also be active player for the scene.
Oh, sweet. Give me a second here to jot that down.
And if you need to drop to 7, go ahead and drop to 7.
And we never saw Earth again. Because something is in the way, but making mess with the light and all of that.
Eras, I'm showing 5 cards for you. Is that true on your end too?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You know, with coding, sometimes it's just a simple counting function that
I know I'll do well.
I had 8 when I had 7. I had 5 when I have 7. You know, it's within an error bar.
Close
Plus,
enough.
minus. Yeah.
I got 5, which means I need to draw 2. I got that. And I got that. All right. And let's drop that right in there. So we got 94, 51, and 10K. I think this is going to happen. So this is a Bartholomew scene. This is going to happen in the kind of in the tubes and tanks and stuff of the water recycling reclamation system. And you know, basically, I've essentially got you know, what amounts to like a diving rig on, swimming through this, checking for leaks and all that kind of stuff. And I think this will be, you know, whatever, 9750, something like that.
As far as the environment, the water is very pleasant. It's like a, you know, gently heated pool.
Oh, and does anyone else have a 7?
Yeah, I had a 7,
Awesome.
so I'm there.
Cool.
Yeah. So help me understand, what's the function of this room, so I know what kind of people might be there?
So this is the system here takes you know, like moisture that we breathe, wastewater. It's almost certainly has some kind of complicated, you know, spinning down hydrogen and loose oxygen modules that, you know, that it collects, deliberately running the ship through tails of comets to, you know, get in the ice and bring that water in and stuff like this. But it's a whole lot of, I mean, most of it would be what amounts to like a filtration and purification system, because a lot of this water is not potable. And the idea is to make it so that it's not just potable, but usable for medical applications, right? Because we need to keep, you know, people need to drink, they need to, you know, all this kind of stuff. So it's but in a science fiction-y kind of way, I like the idea that it has like tubes big enough we can swim through in wetsuits, and, you know, like aquarium looking tanks that we can do stuff in and things like that. And it may even, you know, there may even be like hydroponic fish systems that this is part of as well.
I think another factor that you notice in the setting is there's a hatch, an access hatch for you to enter this aquarium area.
Yeah.
And it's actually got a counter. Every time you open the door on it, it ticks up one. And I think you notice that the counter is either malfunctioning or not working, but it's way lower than it should be.
Okay.
And in this space, apart from you, presently is basically Glenda right now. It's just two of you for now, and she's there with one of the last kind of functioning spacesuits, in order to be able to dive here through the water. So she's wearing one suit, she's brought you another suit because she knows how to operate these suits, because with them you can go underwater just as you could go in space and navigate these things without any issue. So Bart, why have you brought me here?
Look, there's something weird going on with the system here. The counter seems to be wrong. Also, look, nobody else knows how to really swim, quite honestly. And it's just, you know, it's just pleasant to have you here. I like talking to you. Well, also, like there's some leaks and stuff. Look, I'm going to level with you. Last time I heard you arguing. Sorry, what? Sorry, stepping out as a player for a moment. Glenn, was that what is her partner's name?
Was that Grant?
Grant,
I think.
Grant.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. Sorry.
Yeah.
White guy G name. Bartholomew says, look, I'm gonna level with you. I heard you and Grant arguing last time. I'm worried about you crazy kids. I want to make sure everything's okay.
That's
Come on, talk to your Uncle Bart.
Oh, that's awfully nice of you, really. God, I don't know when I had the last conversation. Basically, he's been part of this crazy cult, which essentially believes that the project leaders are up to no good, that at some point they've decided that they actually don't want us to ever land anywhere for any reason. And obviously I told him that's crazy and that he's bananas and bonkers, and
Hey,
why would they ever do that?
Easy with the bananas.
As you guys are speaking, there used to be a very obvious flow of the water towards a certain direction. It stopped very clearly. The water is not flowing right now.
And I kind of raise an eye, and I think I've got one of those like fishbowl helmets on this, right? And I, you know, kind of raise an expressive eyebrow, and I say, "Hey, wait a second. and I hold up a finger like I'm holding it up into the wind. And I say, the flow is not moving. That's bad. That's bad. We can table this. We got to go
It
see what's going
starts
on.
moving towards the other direction.
Okay.
Where
Oh,
it's not supposed to move.
that's extremely bad. Shit. Let me and I'll just start. I kind of take a moment to sort of I kind of look left, look right, not sure what's going on. I say, okay, something's pushing it from that way. So, or pulling it from that direction. I don't know. And like, I swim off in search of what the problem is.
Okay. So Glenda sort of does not know what else to do, and then therefore
You
just
go
puts on
go
her
that
habit
way.
as well,
See if you can
close-
figure out what's going on. I say, and point you in the opposite direction.
The water is getting colder too now and flowing faster.
Oh, this is really bad. Oh shit, I say, and my eyes go wide, and I yell, Glenda, wait, come back. Because the only reason that this would happen if there's a breach is if there's a breach somewhere in the system and the water is being blown out into space and she's headed in that direction. And I start to swim furiously after her to try and catch her before the current can haul her away.
Yeah,
Okay.
the current gets stronger and stronger. And yes, you do start seeing areas where it bubbles, like
Yeah.
it's balls of water, and there's air, not air, but vacuum water, and you would see water just going out really fast, and it's a lot of water being lost.
Okay. So Glenda desperately tries to use her magnetic to get some hold with her magnetic feet, because she knows if the magnet connects, that
Establish
might
that,
be
yeah.
able to hold her. So she tries whenever she bunks against something to bunk with something, and she manages to have one foot on there. But right now the current is so strong that basically she's this kind of floating piece of algae in this massive water flow that's tugging at her while she's just with one foot somewhere on a wall.
This area that Glenda got stuck in actually has a viewport window for maintenance to look in, and there's people outside that sees Glenda in this position.
Does anyone have a card they want to play?
Does Glenda have a clone? Is she high ranking enough?
If clones?
We know now the high ranking people, and she is a first officer. So does she have a clone, and does she want to die?
Okay. So, whose Joker is this?
Oh, somebody played
That's
a
from
jack.
last time. No.
I know that. Yeah, that's mine from
from
last
last
time. Yeah, that's mine from
Okay.
last time. So it sounds like we're going to resolve this non-committally, right? Because no one's playing a card. And so, yeah, and so I think, yeah, honestly, I think that that is how that scene is going to end, which is people looking in, seeing her there, a Bartholomew, swimming past her, trying to figure out how to close it down. And like, we know it didn't destroy the ship, but we also know that it that something bad happened, and that just we'll leave that there. Kind of like a little bit of a cliff. Like, it's okay to kind of have like a sort of a cliffhanger ending to these things, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. So cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
Glenda
We're
is
just
in a
past the
spacesuit.
top-
She'll survive if she'll be
Oh
up.
yeah, that's right. We're just past the top of the hour. We can take a break if people want, or if people are good, we can keep going. Break.
I could do one more scene before a break, because I think we took our last one like 25 after, something like that.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and do that. So since no one played a card, it goes to the left, right? So that'll be Sebastian's scene.
Okay, let
And
me just
draw up to 7 if you don't have 7. And we're down to 6 cards. Ooh. Has everyone played all their face cards?
I still have
No, I
one.
still have
Okay,
2 left.
cool. Cool.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So I think I'm gonna play this card number 3.
Level 3s.
And so this is gonna be
You got a big range to choose from there.
I think this is gonna be 100 years after launch.
There's level 3.
Okay, and who else is with me?
The doctor.
The doctor is with you. Okay. And somebody else. Who's that?
That's me. Bart's in the scene too.
Okay.
Yeah, Sebastian, tell us where we are.
So it's the 3 of us, and I think this is the scene where the 3 of us are reconvened to our all unfrozen, and we're reconvened to the office of the project director, so the person whose corpse we find in scene number 8. We are all a bit, I think, stunned or surprised that we should be called back into that space. Yeah, basically, so we find ourselves in the antechamber to that particular main room of the project director. That's where the scene kicks off. So some space description.
That's me, right? I'm not sure.
Mhm.
No. I'm people, aren't I?
Yeah. Jim is environment,
Yeah.
Era is people. Pat
Yeah,
is
there we
magic.
go. So I'm environment.
Mhm.
Okay. And so sorry, say again exactly where you framed it.
So we're in the basically the waiting room in front of the main kind of office of the research director.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
The project
Okay.
director.
Okay. Oh. And so what is here is elaborately so it's got I like the idea that it's got like a waiting room sort of a feel. So it's got like comfortable but not too comfortable couches that are comfortable to sit on but that you couldn't sleep on. 10,000-year-old magazines sitting on little table neatly stacked on little tables on the sides, right? I just kind of love the idea that these seriously, most magazines you find in a situation like this are out of date. Those are crazily out of date. But the thing that is kind of most prominent is that the walls are big projection screens that show on a loop the artist's conception of what our colony is supposed to look like. So we are just essentially every time we come here just taunted by what they told us we were going to get, and then we look to the right and there's the door, which almost certainly I think the office is otherwise kind of clean, but the door to the actual door is like a security door. And though they've tried, it still has some like scorch marks and chips and stuff like this clearly from incidents that happened in the past where somebody tried to forcibly get through it.
As everybody's in the waiting room, you hear arguing coming from the director's office. You can hear the director clearly The other person I could probably leave up to Edez to determine what other NPC might be in there with the director, but you definitely hear arguing coming from the inside. You can't quite make it out because it's muffled.
So in the waiting room, everyone is the first ranking people in whatever they do. Like Master Plumber, he's the head of plumbing, the medical doctor, head of medicine, first officer, the first officer of that particular. There are officers, there are other heads. The door is closed though, so I don't know who's inside yet until they enter.
Yeah, I think the door opens and out comes storming Dr. Dobbs. And doesn't really acknowledge anybody in the waiting room, just storms directly out.
Mumbling to himself.
Mhm.
Well, he's a ray of sunshine, isn't he?
Yeah, he's don't get him wrong, he's a brilliant doctor. Brilliant. Just he's very coarse around the edges, I should say.
Yeah.
Glenda, Dr. Policarpio Bartholomew, please come in.
Time to face the music.
Yes, folks, has any of you mentioned anything about the reboot to anybody else? Like, I mean, they told us not to, but have you?
I mean,
mean,
I haven't
was-
said anything to anybody.
Wasn't the
Yeah.
director in cryo at that point?
I wrote about it in my diary, but director,
Okay.
to what do we owe the pleasure? Do you mind if I smoke?
Yes,
Smoking's bad
there's
for
no
you, Bart.
pleasure.
Well, I just got to ask. Someday you'll slip up and say yes.
Bart, I told you about your smoking.
Yeah. Look,
You may
I
not
did-
smoke in my room. Let's make it clear. He closes the door behind. He sits you guys in a table in front of him. He sits too. I know I wasn't cryo, but I'm aware of what happened. You could say I approved it in one way or another. We are not on the way home or to our colony or any other location at all.
Well, I mean, depending on how some theories of the universe work, if it wraps around like people think, we may eventually get there.
It does not wrap around. As far as we know, in our current trajectory, there is 0 stars.
How is that possible?
I would like to resolve this scene because the director looks us all in the eye and says, none of you is ever to tell anybody what I'm going to tell you now. I've spoken with Dr. Dodds. He calculated the trajectory and the acceleration is taking us straight into a black hole. See now.
Awesome. That's an amazing end. Great. That's a perfect time to take a break, I think. Go ahead and put the description in there. Draw up. It'll be Sebastian's scene when we come back. And we'll see y'all in 5. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, so it looks like there's 3 cards left in the draw deck, which means when the last card is drawn, the person who drew that card will, or the active player there will be the first person in the last round of 4 scenes. So everyone will get a scene at the end, and then I'll talk us through the end game. So we'll have 5-ish scenes, give or take. So, and we're at 3:30. Is everyone good to go for another hour or so? Awesome. Cool. Well, let's do it then. Sebastian, I think it was your scene.
What was scene number 7 again? Sorry.
Scene number 7 was
That was the
27.
water reclamation system scene where Glenda was. That was we ended on a
Right.
cliffhanger with the water going
Yeah,
out into
That was the
space.
cliffhanger scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll edit that one.
Oh, sorry, that was mine. I should have
No worries.
typed that in.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
That's fine. That's fine. I think I will go with a scene right after this. When we were
Nice.
interrupted by an urgent call to stations because we want to know what happens next.
Awesome. It looks like a couple other
Me
people
as
are there.
Oh,
Sweet.
so who else is in the scene?
Bobby.
Yep. And
this-
Bart. Yep.
Okay. So we find ourselves in the big hangar of the 10,000 year anniversary with the call for all stations, where it seems that a lot of chaos has broken out because a large group of people with kind of black badges on their arms are presently manning some of the landing pods, completely out of order. And that's the scene that the three of us basically break into. So Jim, anything to, I think you're the environmental artist here.
Yeah, so I think that we established that there's that window, that kind of cracked window that you can sort of see the stars through. 3/4 of it is filled by a green and blue planet below. As we look out through that window. You know, like we'll call it just Earth-like, you know, looking out there, you see something that's like, without knowing that it has a toxic atmosphere, or, you know, it's bombarded by cosmic radiation or something like that. A human would look at that and go, I could live there. And that is what is showing through the window there.
Or just a giant drawing that someone drew on the window.
but that's what's showing. And I think that the other thing is that I kind of like the idea that the pods in the 10,000 years, that or I guess we're what, at like 6,000, 7,000 years, something like that at this point.
9,000 years in. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We're 9,400 years in. At this point, all of the pods have been like painted and had like decals on them, and people have given them names and stuff like this, kind of elaborately kitted them out, you know, as a means of expression. And so each of them, it's not like lined up, you know, silver pods all in a row. One of them is, you know, like rose red with like elaborate flower, like, you know, kind of pre-Raphaelite type flower motifs, and a, you know, a chick in a diaphanous robe on the side, kind of pointing down, you know, pointing front. You know, another one has like a, you know, some kind of military, like the militia has painted theirs up to be some kind of camouflage thing like this. And so there are all these kind of colorful vehicles that kind of give the space character and kind of indicate the amount of time that has passed.
Super cool. Okay. Lovely. Eris, who else is here?
So there's probably guards other than Bobby, a lot of guards. And what did you say the other group was? They're like trying to take over the ships, basically, like to leave, right? So there's a lot of those. It's people who wear gray and black mostly. There's yelling. There's like basically a big group of people that's like yelling and like, let us go. And there's a bunch of like a line of guards trying to block their way, while other people already are manning those ships and starting them.
So in the commotion, the people you see wearing the gray and black with the dark circles on their patches on their arms, they're yelling. We're taking the landers. We know where we're headed. We're leaving. we're not going to this place, to this ship's final destination. We're leaving now. And don't expect the hero of the mall pointing at Bobby to stop us.
And I look at Bobby as Bartholomew. I look at Bobby and I raise an eyebrow and I kind of hook a thumb like, you want I should shut this guy up?
No, we need to keep it safe. We're waiting for the
And I make a,
captains to say.
your funeral, like your call gesture.
And
go up
I
and say-
maintain like, I tell like people around me like, keep calm to the other security guard. and
Because
stuff, keep calm.
I can snap that punk in half. You say the word.
I know you can. That's why not.
Okay. I
We're
do
waiting
pull
for
like
orders.
I do like pull a great big wrench from out of my tool belt, and I just stand there, kind of flip it in the air, catching it, just staring
everyone calm down.
daggers at that guy.
You see
I-
all the guards also pull out their batons or what have you, as well as the
Electric things.
the protesters, the black outfit protesters also seem to ready themselves in a way. They grab whatever they can. And I think everybody happens to look over at Glinda, being the highest ranking officer in this area.
Okay, people, I don't know what's going on here, but landing crew Charlie, to my command, whatever you're planning here, this is not the right point to just hit the landing pods. You don't know how to operate them. You don't know how to fly them. If you just get out of this ship now at the speed that we're going, these things will surely just crash into the planet and you will have no way of ever landing them or getting them to a decent deceleration at this point. That's the only thing I can actually tell you at this point, okay? So whatever you're trying is perfectly understandable. If that were Earth, I absolutely want I've operated
Of the black outfits kind of like looks back at the people and kind of holds their hand up, and they all kind of, you see them relax a little bit, looks at you and says, you know the truth, but you're right. And I think the end of the scene, as you see that huge, beautiful green and blue planet just kind of fade smaller and smaller into the distance.
I love it.
Great queen
Cool.
there. That
So,
was my queen.
Whose queen was that?
Mine.
Cool. So you will draw first just to make sure that everyone gets their cards in order. And then it looks like that last card is going to get drawn by someone.
I'm at 6, so unless someone is not at
Yeah,
7.
go for it.
Or unless it, yeah, okay.
Cool. So this will be the first scene of the last round, and we'll just go in order around clockwise. So it'll be you, Pat, Jim, and we'll end on Sebastian. The next 4 scenes, no matter how who plays what to end.
Our
cool.
face cards, do we still play face cards in these
You can
scenes? Or
Yeah, you can still play face cards to end them. The play will just go around the circle no matter who plays.
okay.
So let's do this.
Nice.
Um,
When is
like-
that?
it's like a crazy number of years after. It's not like 20,000. It's like probably like the 50 or 60,000 years later. The ship is surviving. It's just there's probably by now like babies and stuff have been born. I don't know, like who knows how long. And as we all know, we are aiming towards black hole. So we're starting to notice the effects like very lightly. We're probably starting to get a little too close. And this is probably like at the front of the ship. people who have been dealing with all of this shit have been like waking up to for some sort of discussion. People who have led things or protected, and is everyone here?
You got Dr. Anoya.
Here,
No.
Glenda.
So Bartholomew is not here.
Nope,
Oh,
I don't
okay.
have. It's, I would need a 10 to be here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope.
But so yeah, so that's basically like the party at the end of the world, but not really a party. It's just like an announcement or something prepared to be given by the how did we call him, the director? It's probably his last clone.
Okay. So I think for this scene, we're sort of we're back at the hangar. And what is noteworthy is that we remember the 10K celebration party, which was already kind of half the crew. And at this point, this feels like it was maybe, I don't know, 20% of the original crew. So the hangar definitely feels way too big for the number of people that's left. Sure, we have a kid or two, but it's really a small and ragtag number. Again, it is noteworthy that of the landing pods, a couple in the row that we remember from the Green Planet incident and from the Green Planet incident, a couple of the pods are noticeably missing, the landing pods in this array here. And we notice that those that are still there and everything else that has loose pieces are bending in a particular direction. Like you can see the beginning of the effects of heavy gravity on everything. You can notice that basically people are exerting whatever muscle pressure they have against a certain direction into which they're pulled. We can see that kind of artificial plants, if they're there, all the leaves are basically hanging super straight in a very particular directions, and yeah, sort of everything feels like it is invisibly sucked into a very certain direction.
As far as the people that are there, I think the population has noticeably dwindled. Not to a point of scarcity to where the ship's not able to run and all that, but I think it's noticeable. There's less people around. And I think, besides the director being there, I think you see kind of perhaps two factions of groups that are noticeable sitting there. You have people wearing the black, and then you have people wearing whatever colors the crew wears. What colors does Glenda wear as part of the crew?
The standard color is actually kind of your typical spacesuit, bright orange for easy recognizability with some white pats on them here and there. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I think the other group's wearing they all have an accent of orange, or actually wearing an orange suit. As far as who's there.
And they give out like wine or something like that. And it's kind of somber, like, because some people know what's coming, and Bobby doesn't. So he's like his usual smiley self, saying hello to people.
I'd like to know what are Glenda and Bobby still wearing the orange? Are they showing their loyalty to the ship? Yeah, and
Bobby
I think that Dr. Anoya is actually wearing the black, but still has like an orange like headband on over her hair. Like looks over at Glenda and Bobby and is like, how long have we known this was the destination?
I never knew what the destination is. I just hope we're gonna end somewhere. And how
She
long they have
takes
left.
her, she takes her tag out and looks at it and says, well, I think this is now my 200th unfreezing or something like that. I've lost count of the days or years.
Yeah, I totally forget. Bobby, you weren't there in the director's office where we learned.
And a
about
voice
this.
comes and a voice comes over the loudspeaker in the, the PA address system and says, "You're probably all very nervous. We wanted to make sure that we called you here so that you would understand what was happening. We've done our best throughout this journey to keep you alive. We've called when necessary. We have developed your immune systems to the extent that we were able. The coming phenomena is not one that any biological beings have survived to our knowledge. We do believe that with the preparations that we have made and with that those of you that remain are strong enough to survive this. We've done the math and we believe that it checks out. We're hoping that you'll join us on this journey willingly. The possibilities, of course, are quite monumental. There's like, and I think that from from the door, like the door to the hangar there opens, and a small swarm of the medical bots come like flying in, and they sort of kind of hover there, and they sort of kind of coalesce vaguely into the shape of a person. And they say, "I'm sure you have questions. Please, we've brought you together so that you can ask, and we'll do our best to answer them."
What are they talking about? What are you talking about? Are we reaching a planet finally?
Bobby,
No, we are going to experience a temporal metaphysical phenomenon, which we're quite fascinated to see what the results of it will be.
What? What does that even mean?
Bobby, listen.
Yeah, I never even checked how long we've been out. It's just after 100 years, you just don't check anymore.
I want to assure you all that the doctor would be very proud of you.
Dobbs. Listen, Bobby, can I tell you something?
Sure.
Look, Glenda can back me up on this because I don't believe you were privy to this. We deviated off course at some point. And
I assumed so.
yeah, and we attempted to fix it. Something went wrong. And apparently
No. We're on the way on the planet. Like, how long has it been? 10,000 years? 300? 20,000? How long could it possibly? I mean, I'm getting older, but
I don't even have the heart to tell you. Glenda, can you help me here? Can you tell Bobby where we're actually going?
Well, Bobby, the reason why all of these things are bending into a certain direction is that we're heading into a black hole.
what?
Or at least
A localized singularity, an irregular area of the space-time continuum. It's something that we've never seen biological exposure to. The data that we will gather from this and send back to Earth will prove invaluable for medical research.
What?
You see, the experiences
Hush,
that you would have-
robot. Humans, please talk. I don't know if the robot actually
Or-
shushes.
Oh
just
yeah,
to be
it
clear.
does. Yeah. I'll say it does. I'm not going to keep talking, or maybe it drones on, like ignoring that. But you guys can talk to each other. I'm not going to try and talk over you. as a
Bobby is
blighter,
like-
so, yeah.
Noticeably like Are we all going to die?
Rizzo steps out of the crowd. Bobby, have you been asleep this whole time?
Most of it.
No, really asleep. You missed all of this. You missed it
You mean?
all.
I didn't want to look. I didn't want to know.
This is your
We're a little
fault.
late.
You
What?
put down, you are the hero of them all. You put down the militia who was going to tell everybody the truth.
I don't know what you're talking about. What's root? I don't even know what people are talking about. A black hole? What do you? We aren't going into a black hole. That's nonsense.
It's true.
Does anyone
And
want to
we'll-
play a card?
No, I'm going to hold mine.
Well, I could try.
Oh,
Ooh.
Let's
dang.
do.
Oof.
Uh-oh. Bobby,
Well,
you had to take a
Bobby,
hard line.
let me put it this way. Everybody right now is believing that we're going into a black hole. And while that is happening, those bots might pose some issues that you might need to help us with.
We're all going to die. Why aren't we leaving the ship? We still have pods left. Because he would force a way out, because that's what King would be, right? Like he looks at what was his name?
Is he
And I think
dashing
this
for a
is
pod?
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this is the point where like people are starting to freak out. And so that swarm of bots kind of disembodies and starts to fly at people and just kind of like stick them and sedate them. And so people are
Just start
starting to
zapping
drop
them.
as it's heading as they're heading out.
So yeah, Bobby will start zapping those bots, like making the sure and like we need to get the hell out of here. We need to get the hell out of here now, and like try to drag as many people with him as he can.
I love that. That's a great end to the zine.
Sorry, I had to say that it's hilarious to me that Bobby's like the only person on the ship that has no clue what's happening.
What's
at this
going
point.
on?
Yeah. What is this?
Ever since
Awesome,
the
cool.
beginning, basically.
So it's Pat's scene, I think.
Oh man, I don't know if I want to go all the way back. Yeah, I might as well. Let's I'm gonna use one of these fours. We're gonna go all the way back to after the found out about the virus and all that. I think the doctor is kind of addressing some people about the virus and like what can be done to help prevent the virus, because apparently it had mutated even more than originally imagined. And I think that this is perhaps a small conference room, or maybe it's even in the director's office. Yeah, I'll go with that.
I'm environment, right? In this case, never sure. So it is a conference room. There's a big table, like a round table. People are standing, sitting. They're like unsure what's going on there. So like, the room is kind of empty. It has a window to the outside, so you do see stars. But it has a single light in the middle. It is big. Like the table is big. It could have at least like 30 people here, but it's like a super simple room. Like no one ever thought they're gonna use it. Medical conference room. That's what it is.
Jim, is anybody there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the director is there. We didn't give them a name, right? They're just the director. I'm
Yeah,
fine with this.
just the
them just being
ominous
called
director.
the
Yeah.
director. That's totally cool. Yeah, that's fine. And they've got a like a collar, like a kind of like slate gray collarless Nehru style jacket with like a little gold like a neck pin there or something like that. They've got some like lensless eyeglasses that have some kind of a heads up display where they can like look at numbers with one eye while they're always like half concentrating on something else when they're talking to you. And I think that there's also his personal bodyguard is in the room for this. And it's this is a young woman, Latina, who's built like a pro wrestler, and she wears a suit that looks like his, but she just kind of stands quietly off in one corner, kind of arms, kind of arms down. But she looks like kind of just got like a buzz, like a military haircut. But she looks like she never says a word, but you guys know that she means business.
Mr. Director, this business with the virus, it's already taken out Dr. Dobbs. To tell you the truth, I'm almost of mind of letting it run rampant on its own. Like, what's the point? You know where we're headed. You told us where we're headed. Like, why should I help anybody anymore?
Well, let's leave aside the fact that that's your job and that I have a contract here that says that you are going to do that. Let's see. Well, I mean, so from this point forward, since you've informed me of the virus, you and any of your dependents on Earth would be legally responsible for any deaths that were to occur and civilly liable if you were to refuse to help. I'm sorry, my hands are tied and I'm forced to send these reports back to Earth, you understand?
The light flicker.
Yeah, I'm sure you're perfectly capable of getting reports back to Earth when you know we fried the comms 3,000 years ago.
I've been sending them dutifully on laser signals. It will take them quite a while to arrive, but it would be a shame to have your ancestors several generations removed held civilly liable for your actions today. That's not much of a legacy to leave them, don't you think?
You're despicable. I ever tell you that?
I'm pragmatic, Doctor.
You don't care anything about these people.
I do care about these people in the sense that if this mission fails, I'll be held similarly liable.
What mission is flying into a black hole? What kind of mission is that?
As long as any of us are alive, our mission still stands.
I
Few
think
of
more,
those medical robots are probably floating around when you say that. The doctor says that, like around closer to her, basically.
Director, I think you should be as transparent as possible with everybody about the mission.
All right, make your case.
We're all gonna die, whether it's the next time we go into cryo sleep from the virus, or if we fly into a black hole 1,000, 5,000 years from now, where however long that takes. You didn't tell us what the duration of this trip's going to be. Why not just end it now? Cut off all life support to the ship.
Because, Doctor, I don't want to die a moment before I absolutely have to. And I suspect that if I were to conduct a poll of the passengers, the vast majority of them would feel the same way.
Sebastian, do you want any opposition there?
Oh, damn.
That's all right.
I
That's what
completely
Dr.
blanked.
Dobbs is for.
I get it.
No. I completely blanked on that as my role. No, you're absolutely right. Play the scene for 30 seconds or so on, and I'll come up with something. Sorry, blanking completely right now.
Good.
I really do think looking at the bots flying around, you said they're close to the doctor.
Went close. They went closer to him. Dr. Dobbs is also there, right?
Dr. Dobbs is no longer around. Yeah.
Oh, he's not here.
Dobbs is
No.
dead at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. Succumbed to the virus.
To your knowledge.
True. I say, director, I didn't program these bots. That was Dr. Dobbs. So I don't know why they're even in here. I don't even know how they got in here. The door wasn't open.
I keep several of them around to make sure that they are fully aware of all of the decisions that I'm making. Their protocols are important. Their algorithms need to be updated on a regular basis. Dr. Dobbs has, well, he's left extensive instructions about how to maintain the bots programming, update the algorithms, and make sure that they're serving us to the best of their ability. I can assure you that he left instructions so thorough that, well, it's like he's still here with us.
As he is holding that talk, you notice that you could swear that the flying Medbots atop of his head form the sort of recognizable facial figures of Dr. Dobbs as kind of a little picture of different dots together. That's an impression that's just there for like a second or so, fleeting, but you have the eeriest sense that literally a large robot Dr. Dobbs face is staring at you.
You know, it was discussed for centuries, even back on Earth, about how technology would one day make us lose our humanity. And I'm watching it happen right before my eyes.
Luddite. Technology is why we are human. Fire is technology. The wheel is technology. This is merely the next step in human evolution, Doctor.
As that speech is going on, you hear as if the buzzing of the Medbots is going louder and louder and louder and louder, and they're slowly crowding you out of the room.
Life's nothing without love.
Scene to sort of roll to an
Yeah,
end.
The
That's
door
great.
closes.
I love that.
Mhm. Yeah,
The
I mean,
doctor's, the director standing there swarm with the bots swarming around him. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's awesome.
That's beautiful.
and I think at that point you see, I think that's the first time you see the doctor put on something black.
Nice. Love it. Awesome. Jim's scene, the penultimate scene.
Cool. Yeah, let's see what we got here. Give me just 2 seconds here real quick.
Yeah, you bet.
Just taking some notes on our scenes here. So, what do we got? Where do we want to go? Oh, I actually. Oh no, there's no cards to draw back up. That's right. That was the whole point of that. All right, I'm going to pick 9. So what do we got? We got 10,000. Sorry, what did you say is supposed to be the back end of how long the actual journey is supposed to take?
12,000 years technically, but it looks like we have
Okay.
I
an
purposefully took
indeterminate.
it
Yeah,
far.
There we
Yeah,
go.
could be.
Okay. All right.
could be any
It
number
take
of
that
years.
long to reach a
Got it.
black hole.
Okay.
probably, but, yeah.
Okay. So
There's endless
then,
time.
yeah. So then, I'm gonna have the ninth take place, just like like 6 months after 8. And I am going to have it take place in the previously sealed off and secret medical lab where the cloning goes on.
Does anyone else have a 9 to be there?
I do. I have multiple.
Ooh, yeah.
Nice. Okay.
That's what they all wear.
So this cloning lab can only be accessed from the director's office. That is the only access point. You have to go through the director's office to get there. As far as what it looks like, it's what you would imagine a cloning lab would look like. It's vets with bodies floating in the vets.
And the main characters in that room, apart from basically you making it into that room, is a number of medical bots and a weird nondescript android that you've never seen before in kind of shining silver. But while you're listening in on the android's voice, you recognize that this is the voice of Ursa, of basically the ship's AI system. And yeah, you're witnessing how that android is basically right now in the last processes of getting a new clone for yet another person up in the higher echelons of the ship, ready and running.
And I want this, like, this scene opens with like a screech of metal, and like the door kind of slowly pushing back as you see a big fat crowbar like worked through the edge of it, and Bart is grunting, and he manages to get it open enough, and that he then just like jams a piece of rebar in there to keep it open enough, and it's still trying to close again, but we can kind of slip through into the lab to get in there.
Those medical droids starts flying around where you are entering, but they haven't noticed you yet.
Yeah, and Bart just kind of like squints at them and kind of like gives one of them a little swat, and he says, "It's a stupid pests, but well, I got to admit they did a good job replacing my hip."
That's true for sure.
Glenda, this is all creeping me out here. So, I mean, I'm as happy as anybody else. Like, this is as cool as a thing to actually find something new. I mean, it's like, it's like a party, but I don't know what's going on in here.
I don't know why you let me here. I mean, this is basically leading me to what do you say? With another of colleagues of ours, you followed the trace of some dead body of the original research director down to here.
Yes. So I followed the duct work and I looked at where all of the conduits went and everything, and it was pretty clear that there were resources getting diverted to an area of the ship that it didn't make any sense to divert resource to, because supposedly it was a solid block of well, anyways, part of the propulsion system, right? But it's not. It turns out it's this space behind the director's office. And I don't know, you're the smartest person I know. You're as in charge as anybody around here. So I figured you'd want to see it.
You're right. And what's going on here? And at that moment, we hear the voice of the android going in the very familiar voice of the soothing voice of authority of the ship. Dear passengers, and the android has no face, but it's still clearly the voice somehow seems to emanate from wherever that mouth would be. Dear passengers, you're entering protected territory. Please return to your original stations and report for service duty. This area is off limits for you. Please leave this base immediately.
Which is when you see the director standing there next to that silvery android, and there is another director like a few meters farther away from you, looking at the boat, and the director basically says, yes, it would be a lovely experiment, but not everyone has to go in it.
Oh, no. This is not. I did not sign up for this. This is not in my contract, you son of a bitch.
So Glenda is kind of looking around saying, so what exactly is going on here? Please explain.
More flying robots are around you guys.
Okay.
What does it look like is going on here? And Bart walks over to one of the tanks and does that thing where he like wipes the condensation off of it, right? And there's like a youthful scrubbed version of Glenda floating in one of the tanks, and then kind of walks 3 or 4 tanks over and says, oh, no, come on, because it's only like half as tall as like a regular human tank. And I do the thing where I rub it on there and I lean in and I'm looking at my own face. You got some explaining to do. So what? Am I even me? Is she even her? How many times have you replaced us?
Please return to your operating stations. This area is off limit for you passengers.
I'm not talking to you. And like I like walk right up to the director and like grab him around the throat and strength of with that chimpanzee strength and slam him up into one of those tanks. And I say, how many times? Am I really me? I want to know. You better tell me. I'm going to snap your head off like a grape.
You see, there's
Jack.
just another one inside the tank that you are slamming him into. Like there's another one slowly opening
Yeah,
his
it's
eyes.
like the face kind of comes forward in the tank. That's awesome. Yeah.
And the
Who played that,
silvery
Jack?
thing comes forward and says,
Awesome.
oh, Glenda, I'm glad you are here. We need you to prepare a pod chip.
Yeah, I played a Jack. I think that I'll let y'all decide. Like, how does this go south?
Basically, my idea is like that the upper echelon is preparing a ship with a bunch of clones to fly off. And they'll survive, obviously. I don't know if you're supposed to survive this. Which explains why he wasn't there at the end.
Well, if there's some clones there, then I would say that whatever clone is there in scene number 10 is not Glenda anymore. So Glenda will put up a massive fight and definitely smash some of the clonings of it. But ultimately, I think the medical drones are a bit overpowering.
Oh, yeah.
Glenda's to have, that's fine.
Yeah. And I, Bart carries out his threat and just breaks that guy's neck and, starts to go on a rampage around the room. But, multiple drones swarm him and they're sticking him with, sedatives as he's like howling and, turns towards the door to try and escape too late and just, falls on his face.
The
Yeah,
silvery one would probably catch you and be like,
Oh,
it's too bad we won't have an non-human in the experiment.
Oh.
Yeah,
Man,
I think
that's great.
to close out the scene with the Jack is you see like the people fighting and then you see their bodies on the floor, and then you see the clones, I guess, standing there, and the director's like, "Oh, hi, Bart, Glinda.
Back to your stations.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think it's time for work."
Oh man. Cool. It looks like Sebastian has the last scene. And there'll be little epilogue vignettes after this, so they'll have to wrap everything up.
Yeah. I think I go back to right at the beginning.
I'll be there with you.
So you're with me.
And that's Bart as well.
That's racist.
X guard that. that's fine. I don't think that was on purpose.
So I think
Hero.
this is in a kind of mess hall. Right after the attack of 2 of the militia people, where Glenda is basically sitting with Bartholomew and with Bobby, right after the incident, kind of post-work recuperation beer. So Jim, how does the mess hall look like?
I think it's because we're still early in the in this. It's the dining area is it's round tables, right? With more like it's almost like picnic tables. It's like round tables with like extruded benches that come out the sides, right? As opposed to chairs you move in and out that can get in the way and stuff like that. It can all be hosed down if you need to, and everything's attached so that if something happens with gravity or whatever, nothing goes floating around and stuff like that. And it's got I kind of like the idea that it has a bank of kiosks, much like we saw in the mall in the scene before. And they serve the food, like it's put together by, and then it all, it kind of comes out on a little tray served to you. The beverage drops in a like juice box style kind of thing like that. And so it's, the food's not bad, but it is it's clearly like processed, right? And I think that the walls here have holographic projections of like scenes from movies, from like Earth movies where people are eating, right? It's got like diner and the food fight from Animal House and all this kind of stuff of just, so that you feel like you're amongst other people, having a meal.
On the other tables, like most of them are empty, but there's 2 tables with people. One of them is like 3 people. We never saw them before. But on the other table, there's a 4 people table, and one of them is Grant. He just happens to be in the background there.
Okay.
And
Okay.
there is a single medical robot flying through.
Okay.
Bartholomew walks over with his tray and drops it down, and it's got 8 pudding cups on it and nothing else, and 1 spoon. And he says, "These things are going to run out sooner or later, so I'm getting mine while I can."
It looks good.
pops one off and starts to. That was
Yeah,
some
but you-
amazing stuff, Bobby.
Thanks. It's nothing. Yes, Glenda, what did you
Yeah.
call me for? Us?
Well, I mean, I just wanted to call us here to celebrate and to celebrate the fact that you're now called the hero of them all. So I think we should just have. I brought some. Well, I mean, they're not really beer, but whatever they're selling for beer. I don't know if it's mushroom. I don't know if it's yeast. I don't know if it's yeast or mushroom. It might also be, I don't know, worms fed on mushrooms and yeast, something like that. But anyhow,
I don't even want to
taste
know.
of beer if you close your eyes.
You're not really selling it here, kid. Just pop it and let's go.
Okay.
Yeah,
She goes,
it's
"Womp, womp, womp."
food. It's good. It's nice. But I'm no hero, and this was like the worst tackle there was yet. It's like
Not without its
What's going on?
charms. Oh, come on,
Yeah.
Bobby. Don't sell yourself short. That was amazing. I mean, none of these idiots know how to handle a situation like that. They're all, it's been peaceful on Earth for what, 300 years now.
I know. I had practice, but why is there like suddenly a mess? Does anyone know anything? Is anything
So
happening?
as that happens, in comes bursting. We'll call her Tina, who's the chief security officer. Anybody that has watched this movie before recognizes Tina as the bodyguard of the director from a previous scene. She looks a little different here, more formal. Obviously, the chief security officer, Bobby. This is your boss, so you would probably
he stands
react
up.
to. Yeah. She comes walking in and her arms are full of these crumpled, looks like paper. And she just kind of dumps it on the table in front of you. And she's like, the two that we arrested, in the mall, Bobby, great job, by the way. Amazing work.
Thanks.
We're calling you the hero of the mall. Is that okay?
Apparently so. It's fine. I'll take that with stride. But what's
we
going
fo-
on? Why were they even?
Well, we found all these papers in their reanimation rooms. Apparently there's some kind of posters going up everywhere. The bots are taking them down. But apparently there's some kind of, each one represents a number. It's some kind of equation. It's super smart. We're going to get some of the doctors and scientists involved in this. We don't know what the
I mean,
numbers
it's
mean.
super smart, except for the fact that they spelled the word conspiracy wrong here.
Well, I mean,
Ah.
yeah. What can you say? I mean,
And I hold it up to Glenda. Like, you know more math than I do. Does this actually mean anything?
Glenda,
So-
you recognize it right away as space coordinates.
So if I read these coordinates correctly, then they are suggesting that our trajectory from the get-go is pointing ever so slightly at an angle of the official trajectory. That's what this code suggests. That for all intents and purposes, we seem to be heading one way, but actually, according to this, there's a minimum drift of that trajectory that only by virtue of us passing a black hole about 10 years ago would get us on this new stretch.
That good? Is that bad? What does that mean? Is that true?
I have no idea if that's true or not. It would explain the deviation, but this looks a bit as if this was the intended course from the get-go.
Oh, so everything's fine.
Tina says, yeah, I'm sure if anything was wrong, the director would notify each of us, so hold on a second. And points at the other table. Are you authorized to be hearing this conversation? Pointing at Grant and whoever Grant was sitting with.
They probably all stand up and be like, we're not. We
And,
can
and
leave." And
I like wave a hand and I say, no. Grant's with her. He's good people.
No,
You don't need to worry about him.
I don't think they were together yet.
Bobby, you should know better than to bring up topics of navigation and all that stuff around,
What?
non, certified personnel. I expect better of you.
Yes, ma'am.
You two out now, and I think you see Grant pick up one of the pieces of paper that kind of fell out of Tina's arms as they walk out.
Probably also winks to Glenda. Because I think they were
Yeah.
supposed to be together in like 9,000 years.
Yep.
Glenda, anything to add to the end of the scene?
I think the only thing we notice in this scene is that as the conversations come to a close, there is the Matbot just buzzing over the conversation as sort of the camera zooms out in a way that looks very attentive.
Nice. Cool. So that's the last official scene. So to do the epilogue, you should have some cards left in your hands. We'll start from 10 and go down. If you have a 10, play a card on that time and add just like a short, like a one sentence vignette of something's going on at that time. And we'll go 10, 9, 8, 7 down. Looks like aces are all full up, so we'll end at the 2s. So anyone who has a 10 can throw down. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so I had 10. I think what you see here at this moment is you see the ship, and then you see the event horizon of the black hole, kind of illuminating the side of the ship. And parts of the ship are in chaos. There's people screaming, there's people yelling, freaking out. And the other part of the ship is totally calm. There's people holding hands, they're hugging, they're caring and loving, while the other group is freaking out, trying to find the way off the ship or a way to turn the ship around. Sort of the kind of technology, empathy, humanity vibe we've had going on in here.
I love it. Who's got the last 9?
I believe I do. Let me take a look here. Oh, I do. Bingo. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Bartholomew, we see Bartholomew crawling through the ducts, and he drops down into that little room, and he cocks his head as he looks and sees, like an ancient tarnished Zippo lighter. That has "Ape must not kill ape" engraved on it. And like a single Cuban cigar wrapped in plastic. And he kind of cocks his head and looks at it, makes a disgusted face, picks up the cigar, kind of holding it by like fingertips like this, and tosses it into a trash incinerator.
Nice. Who's got our 8s? Getting 2 of them.
I'm holding all of them. What happened around the 8th? Oh, it's a 10K anniversary. We basically see people partying, having fun. On the side where like some upper echelon people are, like we see them like close together, talking to each other, and kind of glimpsing in one of the big ships still left. That one, right? That one.
Awesome.
Already planning.
How about our 7s? Got a couple 7s left.
I have a 7. So this is, I would say, after the cliffhanger scene. We see Bartholomew basically spattering, being pulled out by people through the window in the duct tapes that we've described, just brushing himself off, and running around looking for Glenda desperately until he finally sees her coming out of an entrance. Very, very glad to see her, wrapping her arms around her. And then the camera zooms out of the ship and shows that there is a frozen Glenda also floating and tumbling on the outside of the ship.
Yikes.
I also had a 7. I'll do something simple. Like you basically see Bobby's sleeping pod.
Nice.
He was asleep throughout a long time there, so that's basically what you see.
Fantastic. Let's all 6s are out. Anyone want to throw some 5s down to fill in anything in those 5,000 years?
I have 2.
There we go.
Go for it.
I've got 1 too. So why don't you do 1? I'll do 1, and you can do the last one.
Yeah, and I have another one as well. So
Oh,
Nice.
fantastic!
Yeah.
Work all the way around.
We have like 5,000 years. You see, like day to day, everything is pretty much moving on. Like there is those people that dressed in gray and black that slowly becomes less gray and more black, but or people who are orange with black markings here and there, or the opposite. But things are like you see, everyday lives still moving on. Everyone eating those mushroom foods, and like things have been going well in those, like seemingly well in those 5,000 years.
Shall I go next? Did you want to go?
yeah, no, you go.
Okay. So I think that yeah, let me see. Let me think. Yeah, there is a the director's in their office, and a screen pops up with a, like with a message on it. And kind of reads down, and basically it says, message received, here's how to correct your course, here's how to reset the computer, so that you can get back on course and everything. And the director reads it, and just without even any sort of expression or anything, just presses the button that deletes it, and it disappears.
Nice.
Eris, do you have another one? I'm still thinking what it could be.
I have one for the end of 5, I think. Like
The one at the end of that?
Yes.
Okay.
like you slowly see more and more of those robots flying
Mm.
around, more and more and more. Like it shows like those 5,000 years there's like a few at the beginning and like so
Nice.
many of them at the end.
Love it.
I think what we see, so the last scene in number 5 is basically in year 9451 after launch, so just before the urgent call to stations, which is basically a single medbod with something that looks like a lot of hard drives making off in an escape pod about 2 or 3 days before we hit this particular point where the planet actually appears in the window. And using that time to slowly decelerate and therefore make it very, very smoothly into Earth orbit.
Nice. Who's got our 4s?
I got the last two.
Cool. What do we got?
I think you see like kind of like a montage of the various PCs waking up out of cryosleep. A couple of them seem ill, pale. Some of them are perfectly fine and get up and start doing their work. And I think you see like Dr. Dobbs not wake up. And then you see Dr. Anoya caring for the ones that are sick. And then you see her like walk out of the med lab and then kind of like into a back corridor where it's like maybe a maintenance hallway that Bartholomew may use all the time. And you see Rizzo back there and some other people. They're all dressed in black, and she hands them all black hole patches.
I love it. Who's got our last three?
I have that as well.
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
Let's see. We've learned found. Oh, okay. I believe this is where you see the director in that back room, that cloning lab with Dr. Dobbs. And you can't hear what they're saying, but you can tell they're discussing and they're pointing at each and every one of the chiefs, chief maintenance, chief security, first officer, medical chief, all these different clones. And I think there's a clone in the back that you can't see. It's like behind another wall, and it is a clone of Dr. Dobbs. And in that clone you see a wire running out of its head and into a mainframe, and it says Ursa on the mainframe.
Oh shit. I love it. And the very last
Explains a lot.
one is number two.
I have got the last two, I think. Put that up there. Let's see here. It's 75 years after launch. Yeah. And I think that it's we are sitting in that cafeteria and we've got a diagram of the computer and everything laid out. And we're all nodding at each other. And Bart says, "All right, let's do it. I got a good feeling about this."
And roll credits.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's so good. Such a good ending. Cool. And that is Icebox Timeline. Yeah, we did it. Cool. Would you like to do a round of stars and wishes? Cool. I'll go first. I loved all of y'all's characters. They're so dialed in, so great. Everyone played their folks so good, and just like really good sense of story. Just this is like hard mode storytelling, right? Just jumping back and forth, and like start to back. It was just like nicely reincorporating stuff and weaving stuff in and bringing characters back and explaining things, and the Glenda floating away and everything so good. Yeah, that's all I've got. There is. What do you have for stars and wishes? Stuff that you like or stuff that you would like to see?
Stars all around. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Once those clones were brought up, it became crazy. So why didn't the captain inform us after they flew by the black hole? There were so many possible answers there. Still, even after all this. And the virus thing, it was like just bad things that happened in the middle. It was like a very pleasant time and terrible. And I love how Bobby just was completely oblivious until the last moment.
Cool. Pat, do you have anything?
Yes, stars all around. Stars for making a storytelling game. That's my jam. I love storytelling games. I've played so many of them. I love stories that aren't truly about or I should say games that aren't truly about the nuanced conflict resolution. Can I do this? Can I not do that? I like frameworks like this. So thank you, Mark, for designing a game that falls into something I really enjoy. I really appreciate it. I don't have any wishes right now. Just one wish would be to have suits maybe matter a little bit in the scenes. I don't know how far along you are. I know you said you've been developing this for quite a long time, so it's probably pretty dialed in. But yeah, that was just one thing that I think probably could be tied in. But yeah, thank you all.
Cool. Thanks. Jim.
Yeah, the stars to Erez for Bobby's kind of just like 20,000 years of haplessness. Not even hapless, like, dude, I'm just a security guard. What do you want from me? Like, I signed I did not sign up for this job to be the hero of them all.
And day one, he was the hero, basically.
Exactly, which was just fantastic. I think that was great. You had greatness thrust upon you, as opposed to seeking that mantle or anything like that. So yeah, that was fantastic. Pat, we've played together before. Always absolute pleasure. I really liked that. The slow burn on the doctor going dark, not even dark, but necessarily, but like that that we had that bit of like the black arm, whatever, the black hole patches and stuff like this. And kind of as that developed and everything, and that kind of at the end, it turned out to be her who like got the whole thing rolling. That was super cool. I loved that reveal for that. That was really amazing. I totally love that. Sebastian, I loved in particular like your descriptions of the like when you were in charge of the environment. It was always a really super interesting stuff. I really enjoyed that quite a bit. And I saw you talked about going to Fostival. Was it Fostival that you talked about?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like definitely some of those like LARP conventions that you came through were like really helpful. There was one time where you went just like, boom, scene is over, we're done. And that was really cool because like to the extent that I have a wish, it is to find a way to somehow intervene or clean up or mechanize those scenes that just sort of peter out where no one plays a card, and to make it explicitly someone's responsibility to end that or to have some kind of a mechanic or something like that. Because that was like the only place where I felt like we kind of lost momentum was when nobody had a card and we're just kind of like, I want to hang on to my king because I don't want to use it here. I've only got two of these things or whatever. And so there was a couple of times where the scenes just sort of, and luckily, Mark, we had you here. Like my star to you is you knew exactly when that was happening and you jumped in and prompted us. Yeah. And so playing this, I thought this was perfect played with a facilitator. I know it's GM-less, but I always like I've never played a GM-less game without somebody who took it upon themselves to kind of guide it, that didn't kind of like have exactly that happen. Where nobody wants to, like everybody wants to be polite. Nobody wants to be pushy and say, I'm going to end the scene now like that. And so, I absolutely appreciated it, Sebastian, when you did that, Ian, Mark, when you stepped in to help us with that. Cause that's like, my wish is what do we do about those scenes? It's like something more concrete to do about those scenes where nobody plays a card.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the rules, the person who is reading the rules is explicitly referred to as the host. That's kind of like you kind of like have additional moderator duties or like pick someone to be the official host. But yeah, that like neutral ending has always been kind of like a how do we do that? So yeah, something more to think about. Cool. And Sebastian.
Yeah. So stars to the whole team for really building on each other's themes nicely. So I think there was a nice balance of never really saying no to anybody's premise, but just going along with it, but then also not necessarily going along with it. So it was completely locked into, okay, now you can't do anything with the idea that you introduced. But really, I found everybody with the Doctor and the Black Patches, etc., did a really nice job expanding on and keeping the mystery alive until relatively late into the whole game. What that happened, I really like that as a dynamic. I think particular stars to Pat and Jim for me for bringing a lot of the side character to life when you were playing them, so I could really tell that, and I found that was really strong, and that was really very, very enjoyable. And Mark, stars to you for, I think, a really beautiful premise. So I really love the flexibility of this kind of timeline premise, where I think there is a lot of just narrative potential in just the material of being frozen and unfrozen in these kind of scenes, and just the jarring experience that generates. So in terms of wishes, I think building on what was said before, sometimes I felt like the scenes themselves were meandering because, say, unlike Fiasco, the characters didn't necessarily have a strong, what do I want in this scene? So what does a bad or a good outcome mean? And what's in this for me? So, and I think that's partially due to the fact that we sometimes want to bring the plot as a whole forward, or kind of fill in a bit about the background story. And then sometimes it's just setting up a premise. So, so my wish would be, I know you have something in the rules there, but giving the characters strong wants that drive the scenes, I think would be very helpful also to then have better and cleaner endings. So to find a way for doing that, or maybe for a sharper separation between, this is a scene not just that gives background atmosphere, but fills in backstory, and our characters might not even be there. And this is one where the character has a want, and we see how that want is fulfilled or thwarted.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, y'all didn't, there's another type of scene that we didn't get to do. If you aren't able to play a numbered card to start a scene, we do kind of like a ship scene that's more like a vignette from a third person kind of thing that doesn't necessarily impact your characters, but it has to do with something going on there. So that was, I think that's the first time I played where we haven't had one of those. So that was interesting. Yeah, definitely, like that's in my notes.
That is a great playtest outcome.
Yeah.
That's a real good play test. We delivered a version of play that you have not seen before.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I know that's like a possibility, but this is the first time I've seen it, so that's really cool. Awesome. Yeah. Great game, y'all. For those who are still watching, Gauntlet-RPG.com is where it all happens, or on Twitter, all the places. Thank you, Erez, Pat, Jim, and Sebastian for jumping in here and trying something new. And is it, are you okay with me sharing this on YouTube?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Any last questions or thoughts or anything before we wrap it up?
Oh, we should probably mention that the Gauntlet has an open gaming weekend coming up.
Yes. Yeah. Do you know the details about that? I don't have it in front of me.
It is, if you search for Gauntlet Community Open Gaming, and you can link to it on the website, gauntlet-rpg.com. I believe it's third weekend of March. And those are signups for it start March 1st. So 2 days from now, I don't know whether by the time people have seen this, but there may still be games open and stuff like that. But we do them quarterly so that people can jump in and, try and play, just do a one shot. If you want to get a taste of what playing on the Gauntlet is like, that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, Gauntlet's super great. Cool. Thank you all for playing. Thank anyone for watching. And I hope to see you all again soon. We'll catch you later.
Less than 12,000 years.
Yes. Bye-bye.